Hello everybody, Ocean Robbins here. So excited that in about 15 minutes we will begin our broadcast of episode 6 of the 2025 Food Revolution Summit docuseries. Today's focus is Fit Over 40, building strength, vitality, and flexibility for life. We're going to be looking at staying strong and energized and resilient, especially as we move through midlife and beyond. You'll learn how simple, consistent movement and smart nutrition can help to build muscle, protect bones, and balance hormones while even sharpening your mind. We'll explore how strength training and walking and other daily habits can dramatically reduce your risk of disease and help you to feel more alive in your body at any age. This is about reclaiming your vitality and proving that your best years could still be ahead. If you just joined us, we'll be starting episode 6 in about 14 minutes, and I'm Ocean Robbins, welcoming you. As we move through the day, please continue posting and engaging in the comment section on the broadcast page. Tell us about what you're learning, what this means in your life, what your breakthroughs are, what your story's been. If you've had transformations or healings or challenges, feel free to share, and also share your questions that are popping up for you so we can answer some of them during the live broadcasts. Miranda said, watching the replay and expert interviews of episode 5 couldn't have come at a more perfect time for me. Over the holidays, doctors discovered I have been suffering with vasculitis of the celiac artery. Took them 10 plus years to find, which led to finding an issue with my lymphatic system. Today I'm headed to oncology for a closer look at what it could be. The information Food Revolution brings to those of us that can't afford the out-of-pocket cost of natural health care is priceless. Hearing what the experts have to say, as well as the studies and research being explained in ways we can understand, brings such clarity in the ways we can improve our lives. I've always tried to live a healthier lifestyle, so learning of my health issues was a bit of a shock. But this year's summit, I'm learning of many new ways to improve on my health journey. It brings me much hope and confidence in working through my illnesses. Thank you to everyone at Food Revolution. Miranda, thank you for being here. We are sending love and prayers for your health and well-being. Congratulations on focusing on your health for many years to come. And hopefully you're gaining resources to help you take that next step to optimize even more. You know, there's no guarantees in life. We are all going to die at some point. But along the way, let's make it the most beautiful, rich life we can, and we can radically tilt the odds in our favor of a more vibrant, long, healthy life when we eat more anti-cancer, health-promoting, life-promoting foods. So you're so in the right place, and I'm so glad you're in this journey with us, and we're just sending you love and prayers and support and strength and fortitude every step of the way. Gina said, just listen to Amber Orman. I really like her and the information she shared. Thank you for the extended interviews. So glad, Gina. For those who don't know, every day of this summit, in addition to the docuseries episodes that we're showing, we're also sharing 3 more of the extended interviews from the summit that went into these episodes. So you can dive deeper with some of the experts like Amber Orman yesterday to focus on the specific issues that may be of most urgency and importance in your life. And of course, if you choose to get an empowerment package, then you'll own all 45 expert interviews along with the transcripts, so you can really have them at your disposal. And there's something really, really important about that, because there's only so much we can share in an hour or hour and a half about a topic. And if it's up for you, if you or someone you love is dealing with heart disease, for example, then you're going to want to go deeper probably because your life's on the line, right? Or if you're dealing with cancer or any of the other conditions that we're focusing on here, you may want to dive in with the experts that really share a lot more substance and body than we have space for in one episode. So that's where the expert interviews kick in, and that's where the empowerment package could be a really worthwhile investment for those of you who are thinking about it. Linda said, hi, Ocean. I just want to share with you that I joined last year's summit and successfully transferred to a 99.9% plant-based diet. I had a diagnosis for dry macular degeneration in my left eye. If you avoid saturated fats, it can slow the condition, but I can report that 1 year later it has improved, which is unusual. It's got to be down to whole food eating. Thank you for your zealous efforts in educating us for our own good. Linda, I am so glad to hear that. That is wonderful news. My grandmother actually suffered from macular degeneration later in her life, and she ended up being completely blind. And unfortunately, she wasn't really listening to my dad's message at the time. And who knows what might have happened if she had. But bless you for learning and exploring and seeing what's possible. And congratulations on some improvement. May it continue. Carmela said, thank you, Ocean, and all the experts that have shared vital information for our health and well-being. I'm especially appreciative of the episode on cancer because I recently lost 2 dear friends to breast cancer. I currently have 2 other friends who are undergoing treatment for breast cancer, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. I'm currently cancer-free and doing all I can to prevent a recurrence. My choice of treatment for prevention is a whole food plant-based diet. Thank you for making it easy to understand. I'm excited to try all the recipes you have made available, and I'm eager to apply all that I have learned thus far. I'm also sharing this information with all of my friends and family. Carmela, thank you for being here. I'm so sorry to hear about how breast cancer has impacted you and your loved ones so intimately, and I'm also so glad that you're currently cancer-free. May that continue. And yes, sounds like you're on the path. Choosing to help prevent with whole foods plant-based diet is an awesome move. We're celebrating you and wishing you all the best in the journey. One thing I do want to share, folks, is my adopted aunt a few years back was dealing with bladder cancer, had to have her bladder removed. It was very, very traumatic. We didn't know if she'd live or die. She ended up surviving, thank goodness, and she's still with us. Living on in a courageous, beautiful way. What was striking to me, though, was that not once in her entire journey did any of her doctors say a word about nutrition. The only exception was when she was encouraged to go to get medical marijuana to help deal with nausea for chemotherapy. The person at the pot dispensary said she might get hungry and maybe she should get some sweets to have on hand. That was it. Other than that, she was never told anything about nutrition, and her doctors probably thought they were being kind to her because she was going through enough stress and life-altering experiences, and they didn't want to make her change her diet too. But I don't think it was so kind because she wanted to live. She wasn't going through all of these treatments because she wanted to have fun. She was going through them because she wanted to survive, and changing her diet could radically change her risk of recurrence. But they didn't say that. So we're saying that, right? And we're sharing the experts with you who are saying that so that everybody who has dealt with cancer or any other major health condition can learn how you could make food the foundation of health, how you can fuel your body optimally to maximize your capacity for recovery, for healing, and for wellness. Paula said, Dear Ocean, less than a month ago, I drove my husband to the ER because he was having shortness of breath. He ended up having a triple bypass, which surprised everyone. He's 56 in fairly good health with no family history of heart disease. While recovering at home, to my surprise, he's been watching the episodes with me each day and paid particular attention to the one on heart disease. We also watched your dad share his story about his father and were both so moved and inspired. My husband turned to me and said, I'm like John's dad. It takes a long time and a health scare to think about diet and lifestyle differently. Thanks so much for sharing this important information with the world. Paula, thank you so much for being here, and lots of love to you and to your husband. We're so glad you're both here. And it's true, sometimes pain pushes, sometimes vision pulls. Sometimes we make big changes because we see big dangers before us if we continue with the status quo. And some folks get a second chance, some folks don't. Thank goodness your husband did get a second chance and that he's taking it, as did my grandfather. For those who don't know, my grandpa Irv was practically on death's door with serious heart disease, weight issues, and type 2 diabetes. His doctors, it was in his late 60s, his doctors gave him a copy of my dad's book, Diet for a New America, and told him to follow its advice. My grandpa did. He ended up giving up most animal products, cutting way down on sugar, actually eliminating sugar from his diet, eating a lot more whole plant foods. He gave up ice cream, which was amazing because he was the co-founder of Baskin-Robbins. and he got incredible results. He reversed his diabetes, reversed his heart disease, got off a bunch of medications he'd been told he would need for the rest of his life, lost a bunch of weight. His favorite part was that his golf game improved 7 strokes. My favorite part was that he lived 19 more healthy years. Folks, there was a new study that came out from the University of Illinois that just got published, delivering some big news for plant-based eaters. For years, bro science at the gym has told us that animal protein is the gold standard for building muscle. But this research, published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, shows us that when total protein intake is matched, plant-based proteins build muscle just as effectively as animal-based proteins. Researchers studied healthy young adults doing resistance training on vegan or omnivorous diets and found no difference in muscle protein synthesis. In other words, you can fuel your body with plants and still get strong. This is a powerful reminder that the source of your protein matters less than getting enough of it consistently from a variety of foods. And that's for muscle building. When it comes to all the other impacts of protein source, we're learning that plant-based foods can be quite superior because of their ability to bring down chronic inflammation. And the benefits of a vegan diet are considerable in terms of performance as well, with many plant-based eaters feeling more energized and less fatigued. So whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior or just someone who wants to stay more active as you age, you can embrace plant-based eating and know you're not compromising your strength or vitality. We're going to learn a lot more about this today, folks. The bottom line is that plants have protein, and they've got what it takes to help you to thrive. If you just joined us, we will be starting episode 6 in the Food Revolution Summit docuseries in a few minutes. I'm Ocean Robbins, sharing some welcoming words. Michael said, yesterday's seminar confirmed some of the ideas I had already and eating habits I have been using, providing me with new insights, and it motivated me to get out early today and get my walk in early and mix a relaxed pace to help me be in the moment and a little faster to improve heart rate. Thank you. Awesome, Michael. I love that you got in a morning walk today. And one little tip, folks, you may want to consider with the expert interviews, listening to them on headphones while you walk or jog or garden or exercise in some other way. It can be wonderful to get a two for where you're learning and moving at the same time. Sue said, thank you so much for this summit. This is my first one, and I'm getting so much out of it. I especially appreciate your clear and concise delivery. And Ocean, your energy is so authentic and loving. You're helping so many people. I've been eating organic for over 30 years and eat a little chicken, turkey, and fish, but I'm going to try going totally vegan. I've had reflux for the past year. Any tips on getting rid of it without medication? Well, thank you so much for your kind words, Suze. I'm so glad you're finding the summit helpful, and it means the world to me. I love hearing that you're exploring a shift toward plant-based eating. Now, as for reflux, a lot of people find that certain foods can be triggers, especially fried or fatty foods, chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, and also spicy foods. So steering toward a whole foods, plant-based diet that is rich in fiber and low in added fats can make a real difference. You may also find it helpful to eat smaller meals, to avoid late night eating, and to stay upright for a bit after meals. Some folks find that ginger or chamomile tea soothes the system, and growing evidence suggests that fiber-rich foods support a healthy gut microbiome, which can play a role in reducing acid reflux as well. Of course, you may want to check in with a healthcare provider to make sure there aren't any other underlying issues that need extra attention, but these are some good lifestyle-based places to start. Angela said, hello, FRN team. One issue I'd love for you to address is pain management for cancer patients. My husband had lung cancer that metastasized to brain and later to bones. The cancer center bombarded him with chemotherapy, radiation, and immunotherapy. At the end, he succumbed to the disease. What I missed was good pain management and also help facing death. The oncologist pushed him to do more and more and more. It was a horrible experience for me, and I keep trying to stay as healthy as possible. What would be good pain management while eating a healthy diet? Angela, thank you for bringing such a tender topic to this conversation. My heart goes out to you and your husband and all you went through. It sounds so painful and so many levels. And we're sending you our love and our prayers for healing now as you put the pieces back together. In terms of pain management, it's an important one to consider, and often it's a combination of body, mind, spirit, conventional and alternative. You may need some medicines at points along the way when you're in serious pain or recovering from seriously painful medical interventions especially. But things like acupuncture and massage and heat therapy can help. Anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric and ginger can be supportive. Mindfulness practices like meditation and gentle breathing exercises and body scans and visualization can be helpful. And there's something called pain reprocessing therapy that's also worth mentioning. It helps retrain the brain's response to chronic pain signals. Sometimes even when the original source of pain, like an injury, is gone, the brain can get stuck in a loop and amplify the pain experience. So pain reprocessing can help break free from that. So much love to you in your healing journey. All right, folks, it is time for us to move now into episode 6. Here we go.
The food revolution is ultra important.
The food revolution is an opportunity to change your life for the better.
What if food could be your medicine?
Learn how to eat to live a longer life.
If you want longevity, then focus on life-giving nutrition.
The food revolution is happiness.
The food revolution is vital for human health and the planet.
What if food could change everything?
What if food could reduce your risk of cancer?
What if your food choices could shape the future?
Now is the time for change.
Say yes to the change you want to see.
Now is the time to take charge of your life.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
It's time for a food revolution.
The food revolution starts now.
The food revolution starts now.
The food revolution starts now, baby.
Today we're diving into a topic that impacts all of us, staying strong and vibrant and resilient as we age. No matter what your starting point is, maintaining strength and flexibility and energy is not just about fitness. It's also about longevity, mental well-being, and thriving at every stage of your life.
This becomes even more crucial as we move beyond our 40s, when preserving muscle mass, bone health, and vitality takes a more intentional approach. Our bodies naturally evolve with age, and if you don't use them or feed them right, your muscles and your bones will get weaker and weaker. But that doesn't mean we have to accept decline as inevitable.
In fact, losing muscle, bone density, and flexibility is not a given. It's something we can actively prevent and even reverse. Thriving is not just for the young, it's for everyone.
After the age of 40, our bodies change. We may have some reduced muscle mass, bone density, and these changes can affect our overall health.
As an adult, we spend a lot of time sitting. We have jobs. We drive more than we walk a lot of times. And so we are sedentary creatures, very sedentary creatures through midlife and even into late adulthood. And so how do we get people active?
Exercise is one thing that affects pretty much every disease and everything. And the best kind of exercise is the one you like. Because if you like it, you'll do it. It really kind of comes down to that. There's aerobic and there's strength training, and the optimal is to do both. That's what we ask our patients to do, because one builds up muscle mass, and especially as you get older, your muscle mass is, a lot of health benefits, but beyond just being stronger. And the aerobic just gives you more conditioning. But a little goes a long way. People think, gosh, if I don't have time to exercise for an hour or run 5 miles 3 times a week, I'll just roll over in bed. But the latest studies are showing how little exercise can make a big difference, especially if you do it intensively. Just a few minutes, 5 minutes of intense exercise can give you really remarkable health benefits. And I find that, just telling most people walking is really something that I recommend because it's very low risk, as opposed to running, which will hurt your knees, or there's, sudden cardiac death that can occur if you're predisposed to that. Walking is easy. And particularly if you can walk with a friend or your dog, then you get the social support as well. A famous cardiologist 100 years ago said, walk your dog whether you have one or not, but it's nice if you have one. It makes it more fun.
Also nice if you have a dog. Now, what is the very best, most cancer risk reducing exercise on the planet? Whatever you'll do. Anything. Doesn't matter. Walk, swim, bike, run, hop, skip. Just move.
We often hear about the benefits of exercise for heart health and weight management, but what if movement could do something even more profound, like reshape our brains? I've noticed that after a workout, my focus sharpens and my mood lifts almost instantly. It makes me wonder what really happens inside our brains when we move.
When we look at that science, we know that engaging in physical activity improves brain function. What we mean by that is it improves memory function, it improves mood, it improves other aspects of cognitive performance, how well you are able to attend to what I'm saying right now and focus on what I'm saying. But we can also see the changes in the morphology of the brain and the structure of how it looks, right? So we can examine how the brain, the gray matter regions, how they look and how they respond to different stimulations. So physical activity seems to have all of these beneficial effects.
We know that it is critically important to exercise physically. You know, we all often talk about mental exercise, like doing effortful mental activities. And that's important for brain health, but I think the evidence is pretty clear that physical exercise is even more important. And there are many different ways why that might be, from everything from increasing blood flow to the brain to increasing these kind of super hormones called neurotrophic factors, like brain-derived neurotrophic factor and glial-derived neurotrophic factor that protect neurons from some of the problems that we see in neurodegenerative disease. And the evidence is just overwhelming. In Parkinson's disease, it is probably, arguably the only intervention that we have right now that actually clearly slows down the progression.
It seems that physical inactivity and sedentary behavior is really detrimental for the brain, especially as we get older and we have other risk factors that start coming into play. And so what we've learned is that physical inactivity and sedentary behavior is a major risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. What we also know is that the opposite is also true, that engaging in physical activity reduces your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. So it's really powerful. It's not a magic bullet. There's people who exercise every day that still die of cardiovascular disease and a heart attack. We know that physical activity reduces your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. It may delay the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Even when you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, starting to engage in exercise may actually improve your symptoms or reduce the symptoms. So it's very powerful. It's a very powerful medicine.
The fact that exercise can lower the risk of Alzheimer's is incredible. But could it also be a powerful tool for mental health?
I always feel an instant boost in my mood after a run, but is that just a fleeting runner's high, or can regular movement actually help prevent or even treat conditions like depression?
Mind-body connection. This latest study recently published in the British Medical Journal was what we call a meta-analysis. It's a combination of 218 other studies, over 14,000 people with depression, looking at the association or benefit results of exercise during depression, and found, not really a surprise, but some powerful results that any type of exercise, so we're talking yoga, tai chi, walking, jogging, weight training, all benefited reduction in depression symptoms amongst the study population. So I think it really is important to remember that mind-body connection, there's science, there's physiology behind it, those feel-good endorphins, and it can be, yes, difficult to exercise or engage in anything if someone is profoundly depressed, but this should be looked at potentially as an adjunct or as powerful even as psychotherapy or medication for certain people.
Exercise has been shown over and over again to beat antidepressants.
in terms of the benefits for depression. But lack of motivation and depression, oftentimes you need medication to get people motivated enough to then take action. So I'm not anti-medication. I'd be dead without it, but if we can find a balance where we use meds for the things that we need currently, for acute pain, things we're going through now, and then we use the emotional work, right? And use our self-care and whatever kind of emotional support you need, and we use the right nutrition and exercise, we're going to minimize our need for medicine. And we're going to maximize our ability to live lives we actually want to live.
So exercise releases endorphins, right? So when you're exercising, it's always a positive result. And as an example, we do this program, been doing it for 14 years, called Walk with a Doc, which is on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. And we give out healthful refreshments. We do a quick 5-minute high-yield health topic, and we walk with our patients. And it's lovely, and it's recharging. It's not only recharging for me. There's no co-pays, there's no exams, but it's just fun to see people as other people doing things together to improve their health. It's really powerful.
Do you have to exercise a lot in order to benefit? No. In fact, the difference between nothing and something is huge. And of course, doing more than something is even huger. In fact, a 2023 study published in Scientific Reports explored if a bit of exercise was still better than none. It found that for adults over the age of 50, even 15 to 30 minutes of walking every week cut dementia risk in half. People who were able to walk 15 to 30 minutes almost every day had 1/5 the risk compared to those who didn't exercise at all.
That is encouraging, but is it ever too late to start? If someone hasn't exercised regularly, can they still begin later in life? And for those who start early, do the benefits truly last in the long run?
Is there any evidence within the literature, within studies that have been done that show if I start now, even though I'm like 30, 31 years old, my life will be different in the future in the areas that I care about profoundly if I start caring about my brain?
The answer is absolutely yes. First, I'm going to give you results of a study in people that are 65 and older. So studied people that are 65 and older and asked, what is the probability of getting dementia in the next 6 years, depending on the level of activity that you have? Just right now.
Physical activity.
Physical activity. And they measured it in how many walks you take per week. And if you took 3 walks a week or more, you were 30% less likely to develop dementia in the next 5 years. So, 30% less likely to develop dementia. My father passed away of Alzheimer's dementia. That makes me sit up and take notice. But the thing that should make you, as a 31-year-old, really sit up and take notice is the larger correlations that show that the longer you have regular physical activity in your life, the longer you're able to stave off dementia, the more active you are over your lifetime. That first study shows that it's never too late to start. You can start walking regularly, which is doable when you're perhaps at that age. But the longer you stay active, the bigger and fatter and fluffier your brain will be. Every single time you move your body, you're releasing a whole bunch of neurochemicals in your brain. Some of them make you just feel good. Serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, endorphins. Yeah, I feel good. If I go out for a walk, I feel better than if I had been sitting here for 8 hours. But the other thing that gets released every single time is growth factors. I like to call it a bubble bath of neurochemicals that happens every time you move your body. What that growth factor does is it goes directly into your hippocampus and it helps brand new cells grow in your hippocampus.
You could hike, you could go on the trails, you could go to the parks. People can do this every day. If you don't have to buy a fancy weight set, you can find an empty water jug, fill it up. Those are pretty heavy, right? There's lots of ways to do it. If you work in a library, carry the books, right? There's all these fancy things we do now. Everyone's like, oh, have you done your farmer's walk? Well, where did that come from? It came from a farmer holding a big tray of produce that they just harvested, right? So there's all these interesting things we can do that don't take any money at all, just a little elbow grease, and they're really powerful.
Moving is important. And we can do amazing things even later in life than most people imagine, especially when we feed our bodies the right fuel. That's what Dotsie Bausch discovered.
Dottie didn't even take up cycling until her late 20s, an age when most professional athletes are already deep into their careers. But that didn't stop her from rising to the top, becoming a 7-time national champion. And then at the age of 36, when most athletes have already retired, she changed her diet and went to a whole new level, becoming an Olympic silver medalist at the age of 40. Here's her story.
I found cycling kind of late because I had I almost lost my life to anorexia and had a long healing journey from that, and found cycling as a vehicle for joy, really, as I was towards the end of my healing journey from anorexia, and just fell in love with the bike and the movement on the bike and the wind in my face and the freedom that I had healing from that disease. And so I quickly tried to race and kind of quickly moved myself up in the categories, racing in the women's scene, and got selected by the national team some years after that. And I'm cruising along. Everything's going pretty great. I mean, it's a hard road as a professional athlete, but I'm feeling pretty good. And a couple of years before I went to the Olympics, I went to the 2012 Olympics in London. So it's been a hot minute, but I had a complete and total soul shift, is the only way I can describe it. I grew up in Kentucky and grew up surrounded by so many animals, and they were my solace. They were home base for me. I am very introverted, and I would come home from school so exhausted, and they were there for me. And I just had this moment where I dug down and I understood what happened to food animals. And I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. So I did it overnight. I always encourage people to not do that, but I made the shift in just a matter of days. It wasn't even a full week. And I didn't know what was going to happen to my body. I didn't know. I was like, I remember praying, like, please let me stay the same. Please don't let me get weaker. I was hoping that my strength would stay the same, and that my endurance would stay the same, and my output would stay the same, and my sleep would stay the same. All of these things are so important. But like a matter of weeks in, I started waking up in the morning with like a skip in my step. And what we haven't mentioned is I was a little bit of an older athlete. Like I stood on the Olympic podium just 5 months shy of my 40th birthday. So I wasn't 20. So I was, with all that training, I would always wake up every morning. You almost feel hungover as an athlete, because you're training 3 times a day, and it's a lot. It's too much. You wouldn't want to ever continue that. Lifetime's too much damage. And that's the first thing I noticed. I woke up and I was like, oh, I have more energy. I feel like I could go out and train right now. I don't even know if I need coffee. Like I just felt more energetic. And then I started noticing my repair and my recovery speeding up in between intervals and sessions that I would do with my teammates, where they were still on the ground like, oh gosh, another effort. I don't know. And I'm like, let's go. And they're like, one of them actually said to me, Dotsie, what are you on? And I was like, well, as you know, I've switched over to a plant-based diet. I don't know. This might be what it is. But then the craziest thing changed. I got stronger. And nobody thinks that's possible on plants compared to, a meat-based diet. But I was pushing 350, 360 pounds on the inverted leg sled times 30 reps times 5 sets. And after I switched over to a plant-based diet, about 3 weeks before Olympics, when I started to taper and come off the weights, I was pushing 585 pounds times 60 reps times 6 sets. And as you can tell, I'm a female. Those are man weights. And everybody in the gym, including all the bodybuilders, were like, what are you on? I kept getting that question. So the strength part blew me away. I didn't think that was going to be able to improve to that degree.
Growing research continues to reveal the powerful anti-inflammatory effects of a whole foods plant-based diet. Some of the top anti-inflammatory foods are berries, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, legumes, mushrooms, and onions. Everyone, but especially older athletes, can experience profound benefits from incorporating these foods into their meals.
It's true, Nicole. And if you feel sore or inflamed after exercise or the next day, part of that is your body getting used to it. Part of it could be due, however, to excessive inflammation. When you eat more anti-inflammatory foods, it can help calm that down. So then you may have less pain and your body can recover faster.
Of course, most of us won't be Olympic athletes like Dotsie. In fact, a lot of people are struggling just to move at all. Especially as they get older, they might think, is it too late for me? Has the train already left the station? I didn't do more when I could, and now here I am. Moving is painful and it doesn't feel good. So what should you do if you're wondering if it's worth the pain and the trouble to even try?
It is really important to honor that feeling and to recognize that a lot of people have that feeling, not only as we age, but a lot of young people if we're used to a sort of sedentary lifestyle. But I think the key is to recognize the power of being strong, flexible, and vital for years of your life. So if you're focusing on that, the younger you are when you start focusing on that, when you're older, it's going to be something that's second nature. The other thing that I like to think about is not necessarily thinking about it as exercise, but as physical activity. What are the things that you want to do in your life? You need to climb up and down stairs. You want to take your children to school. You want to bring them back. You want to give that your child a piggyback ride. You want to garden. What are the pieces of your life that are important to you, and what types of functional activity do you need to be doing to maintain the ability to do those things for the long haul? So that would include not just what we traditionally think of as exercise, aerobic exercise or strength training, very important, but also think about other things like flexibility or balance training. So we might think about then incorporating things like Tai Chi or certain types of yoga that we can think of as exercise or just as functional practice in our lives to keep us in the best shape possible to do all the things we want to do.
Evolutionarily, as human beings, we evolved to be physically active, because if we didn't gather and hunt food, or we didn't last very long. And in the modern world, both fortunately, but in some ways, unfortunately, because we no longer have to do that, physical activity has devolved into what we now consider exercise. And what I mean by that is we've come to view it as a discrete event. I need to put on special clothes and go to a special place and do a special thing, and it starts and it stops. And we do that, or we sit on the couch. Mm-hmm. And many people, they put on some weight. They don't like the way they look in gym clothes. They're embarrassed. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to use the machine, so they don't do it. So again, it's hard to get over that, create the inertia you need to reintroduce physical activity. And when I talk to patients about this, there's lots of ways to incorporate physical activity into your daily routine that may not be exercise in the way we think about it. So going for a walk after dinner, go work in the garden, park on the farm in the parking lot, take the steps instead of the elevator.
It does get harder to maintain strength and flexibility. And I wouldn't have said that even 5 years ago. Now I'm noticing, especially flexibility. I mean, I used to be able to stretch a little bit. Now it's a lot of it if I don't want to little tweak here or a tweak there or this happening. So I mean, moving every day is critical for here and for all our parts. It's important for, hormone balance just to move every day. And it's just a couple of days a week. I mean, I go hard when I'm there, but I'm not going to the gym 5 days a week. I mean, that would make me crazy. So staying committed to that strength, it's very easy to start breaking bones as they get more brittle as we age. And so keeping that bone density up with pounding exercises and keeping that strength up has been, I've noticed it so much more in the last 5 years, how I need to make sure that happens. Whereas before I felt like I didn't have to prioritize it. And now it is that it's the exercise, moving every day and keeping myself strong. And I don't ever want to let that go.
When we're eating an American style diet, that's happening because people are aging very rapidly. So starting to lose brain mass and muscle mass and at the age of 40 or 50, but not for people living healthfully. They're aging slower. You're delaying the loss of digestive capacity and muscle mass till you're in your later years. So I'm 70. I'm still benching the same, weights I did when I was 30. I'm still skiing down moguls and, playing actively, running tennis and surfing and doing doing aggressive exercising, mountain climbing. And the point I'm making is that the better our health and the healthier we live, we delay aging and we delay the loss of athletic and strength and as much as we can.
chronic illness can feel like a life sentence. In the 1990s, Dr. Sarai Stancic was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS, which is a debilitating autoimmune disease. At the time, her prognosis was grim. She was put on medications that she was told she would need to take for the rest of her life. She was told she'd be in a wheelchair at some point and that she would likely die young. But instead of accepting that fate, Dr. Stancic took matters into her own hands. What happened next?
In 2003, I adopted a whole food plant-based diet because the evidence suggested that this was the ideal diet for health maintenance. I began to exercise. Back in the 1990s, when you were diagnosed with MS, you were told, don't exercise. MS patients struggle with fatigue. You were told to conserve your energy. So for 8 years, I didn't exercise. I was very deconditioned. I could not get onto a stationary bike without my husband's assistance. And the first time I could do a minute, and I was in a lot of pain. But the next day I went back. And it didn't happen in a week, and it didn't happen in a month. It happened over time, but I started to feel better. I came off all of those medications, and on May 2nd, 2010, I crossed the finish line at the New Jersey Marathon.
It was amazing to hear a neurologist tell me to continue what I was doing.
I'm not cured. I mean, I live with MS, but I manage it by taking really good care of myself. Every single day, I meditate. Every single day, I exercise. Every single day, I eat optimally.
I am so grateful to be here. Now, more than 20 years since my diagnosis, and I am medication-free, disability-free, and empowered more than ever before to share my healing message with the world.
Dr. Stancic's story is so inspiring. I've got to interview her for some of our past Food Revolution summits, and she's become a leading spokesperson in the Food Revolution movement.
It's heartbreaking that, like many MS patients, she was told not to exercise, but she refused to accept those limitations. By embracing an anti-inflammatory lifestyle that included moderate exercise, she grew stronger and stronger, eventually achieving the incredible feat of running a marathon.
Yes. Of course, there are a lot of different kinds of exercise, including anaerobic or strength-building exercise, as well as aerobic exercise, which pushes your cardiovascular system.
When it comes to cardio, how much is optimal for maximizing health and longevity? And what about intensity? How hard do we actually need to push ourselves to reap the greatest benefits?
Aerobic exercise, which is cardiovascular exercise, it's essential for heart health and overall fitness. And the recommendations are to aim for about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. And this is across all age groups, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise. You need to start slow and move at the pace of you. Incorporating this benefits your heart health. It can lower blood pressure. It may improve your VO2 max, which we know is a predictor of longevity. VO2 max is the maximal amount of oxygen. So it's a measure of the maximal amount of oxygen that your body can consume, milliliters per kilogram per minute. And it is something that's tested through, there are some very low level tests that you can do, like a shuttle test where you're running across the field and get an estimate of your VO2 max. How many milliliters of oxygen can your body take up per minute per unit of body weight? The higher that number is, so if you are an Olympic cross-country skier, you're probably going to be in the 70s and 80s. If you're like me, almost 60, and my Garmin watch actually tells me my VO2 max, I'm down in the 40s. But there are different age brackets for VO2 max too. You want to be at the top of your age bracket for how efficient your body is at taking in oxygen and allowing your body cells to consume it.
Aerobic exercise is very good. So I like to have our patients do high intensity interval training. If you walk on a treadmill, walk up an incline. If you do an exercise, let's say you do arm curls, do squats with it and a deadlift. Anything you do high intense is building muscle and endurance at the same time.
A lot of people don't realize just how powerful exercise is, but I call exercise the elixir of youth, right? So in addition to eating really well, you got to get in 30 minutes a day on average of breathless physical activity. Now, obviously, check with your doctor first, make sure you're safe to do this, right? So if you are in the need of urgent bypass surgery, it's not the time to start having an exercise program, but after would be.
Is it important to get out of breath? Does intensity matter when exercising?
We think that intensity matters. We think that the intensity of the exercise matters, but there's still a lot of debate about that. Let me give you a few quick examples. So let's say somebody exercises 100 minutes a week at a moderate intensity level, where they get their heart rate going. They may be out of breath when they're done exercising a bit. So at that moderate intensity level for 100 minutes. But then I take somebody who doesn't ever reach that 100 minutes of that moderate intensity level, but engages in 300 minutes a week of a very light intensity level. So are these comparable, right? So can you replace some of that moderate intensity with light intensity and still get the benefits? So these are questions that we still don't have good answers for yet. And it really comes down to some of the underlying drivers of that effect. Does it really require your heart to reach that moderate level intensity for that to be driving some of the brain benefits? Or does it work through some other pathways that are equally responsive to the energy expenditure that comes with more light intensity activity?
We know that cardiovascular exercise is a game changer for health and longevity. It strengthens the heart, it sharpens the mind, it even boosts energy levels. And aerobic exercise can be tailored to fit anyone's lifestyle. It doesn't have to be about extremes or about competition. It's about finding what works for you and hopefully what you can enjoy.
And what about strength training? How important is it to strength train?
So exercise is critical and cardio is really powerful. But I also don't want to minimize the strength training that's important too, because that raises basal metabolic rate, which is how you burn calories at rest. So being stronger is not only useful for what you do every day, but it burns calories, and it turns out it has a lot of other beneficial effects. And if you want to combine the two, it's very easy these days. You can get a Peloton or go to a gym or subscribe to a streaming service, whatever it is. You can do high intensity interval training. That's where you're doing weights, but you're doing it so fast, you're sweating and huffing and puffing and can't talk. And the goal is to try to get that in every day.
Strength training is important for people over 40. And strength training can be things that you do with your body weight, or it can be exercising in the gym. The importance is that strength training stimulates muscle growth, it enhances your bone density, it improves joint stability, it boosts your metabolism, it can help with your core strength. A muscle is also a great way to improve your metabolic health. We're hearing a lot about metabolic health these days, or the lack of metabolic health. So by incorporating strength training into your routine after age 40, that's something I recommend to everyone.
Strength can get harder. I have definitely, of course I've lost some muscle because I'm not doing what I was doing before and putting that pressure on my body to build the muscle the same. But I still love the feeling that I get when I'm staying committed to the gym and feeling strong. I love that feeling of I just feel more capable in everything that I do.
And then the final part of kind of that triangle of what's important. So we talked about aerobic exercise, we talked about strength training, it's flexibility and mobility. We all get stiffer as we get older. I'm sure that the way I could touch my toes when I was 10 is not the way I can touch my toes today, although I'm trying to get back there again. But incorporate flexibility and balance training into your routine too, because this is important to prevent the risk of injuries, to make sure that your core is stable. It'll reduce your risk of falls. And it also is a great way just to feel better.
I do like a weightlifting exercise class at a senior retirement place up the street. And what I've noticed that is more of the challenge is balance. So yes, you want to stay strong and lift weights and keep moving so that you don't get something like sarcopenia, but you can't do those things unless you have balance, right? Like you can't just be, running, or you certainly can't be riding a bike if you don't have good balance, and you can't really be lifting weights if you don't have good balance, because it's dangerous. So that's what I've really noticed with these folks. I was just there to just do strength training, but when I realized how bad all their balance was, whoa, we got to back up, work on the balance so that you can lift weights healthfully and safely so that they can do good. So I definitely suggest older folks, as they're getting there, to work on their balance. And that can be, it's very easy to find balance exercises with a chair on YouTube. I mean, easy peasy. That's where I found them, because I was like, I went the first time, and the second time I was like, I got to go back with balance exercises. We got to get this in line before we start lifting weights. And there's a lot of really easy ones on YouTube, but balance.
There's one widely used indicator of longevity and fitness that surprised me: grip strength. We might not think about it often, but there's a lot of research showing that people with more grip strength are likely to live longer and better. Is it really that important?
Grip strength is a key indicator of overall health. And I believe it is a measure in itself, as simple as it is. It's actually something that my primary care provider has been measuring during my annual healthcare visits for probably the past 8 or 9 years. I feel that it is a vital sign that can be an early predictor of changes in total body strength and function. You may see it indirectly from things like, I can't open the jar of pickles. And getting someone, you need to get one of those grippers, or you need to have someone else opening your jar. But there are independent studies that show that your grip strength correlates with your overall body strength and the strength of other muscle groups. And if measured and monitored, it may be an early warning sign for sarcopenia. So I do think it's an important measure. I think that enhancing grip strength is, if you see it declining, is important, but it's not something that's measured regularly. I liked it, especially from the perspective of all you need is a grip strength dynamometer, and taking them to community fairs and having people at community events get a baseline for how strong they are relative to their peers in the same age group. It's a good way to spark the conversation around, do I need to be doing something to improve my grip strength? And there are things that you can do that are very easy.
Some great ways to build grip strength include squeezing a stress ball, using hand grippers, or performing wrist curls with light weights. Activities like rock climbing or gardening or carrying groceries also naturally build grip strength while engaging other muscles.
Incorporating strength training into your routine is also an effective strategy. Exercises like assisted pull-ups or even carrying weighted objects not only strengthens the hands and the forearms, but also the larger muscle groups.
Building or maintaining grip strength is important, but it's probably more of an indicator of overall strength than an end in itself. I suspect if you sat on the couch all day squeezing a stress ball and never got up, you might have good grip strength, but you probably wouldn't be too healthy.
That's probably true, Ocean. Of course, overall strength is important too. And for most people, it declines with age. This can be for many reasons, including hormonal changes, reduced physical activity, not eating enough protein or total calories, or an underlying inflammatory condition. And the cost of losing muscle strength is real.
There can be a significant amount of muscle loss as we get older, generally referred to as sarcopenia. And this increases the risk for falling. It increases the risk for mortality, early mortality. And so we know having lean muscle mass is very important for health, well-being, and brain health and function as well. And so part of the benefits of continuing to engage in exercise behaviors, both aerobic as well as strength training, resistance training that will help tone and keep the muscles toned, is beneficial for the brain and reduces risk for Alzheimer's disease and dementias because that muscle mass is helping you physiologically behave in a different way. We also know that lean muscle mass produces various chemicals. various chemicals that then get released into the bloodstream, and some of those chemicals end up reaching the brain. When they end up reaching the brain, they also stimulate the brain in certain ways. So the muscles and the brain can communicate and do communicate with one another. And so we think that the muscle loss is actually contributing to some of the brain deficits that occur in late adulthood. Keeping yourself strong, keeping those muscles active and tone is really quite important for all elements of overall physiological health, but also the brain.
We used to debate between, was the heart the most important organ in the body or the brain the most important? We should, focus most of our attention on one or the other. But in the last 5 to 10 years, the argument that our muscle mass may be the most important organ for longevity has come up on the scene. And there's no doubt that getting older and frail, getting older and having difficulty, whether it's getting out of a chair or having the ability to, manage your daily life and strength and reach for things on top shelves, and really just either just looking at your body and seeing loss of muscle, or getting a DEXA scan, a simple, inexpensive test actually documenting the amount of muscle mass over time. That muscle loss is a crucial hallmark to avoid as we age. And there's no doubt about it.
Strength isn't just about lifting weights or trying to look good. It affects your bones, your brain, your heart, your metabolism, and your longevity. So, Nicole, you've written books on this. When it comes to maintaining and building strength, what works?
Partly it depends on what your goals are, Ocean. There is a difference between muscle mass and muscle function.
Muscle loss is a problem in older adults. Most of the time, the people most concerned about it are fitness people, gym goers, and sports people. And if you look at it in that context, muscle mass and muscle function, it turns out, interestingly, my interpretation of it is that mass does not always equal function.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're looking to get big and buff and have the biggest curves and bulges you want to, protein intake and super high protein and supplement stuff can make that better, but that's not necessarily the same as muscle function and strength. So those are slightly different things.
We also have to recognize small steps. You're not going to go from a sedentary creature to a highly active creature overnight. At the snap of fingers, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, we can get there through small steps. Small changes to our behaviors, thoughtful changes to our behaviors, in the same way that dietitians generally recommend dietary changes. It's not going to happen, usually doesn't happen really quickly. When you go to the grocery store, park a little bit further away. It's a walk, that's fine. You don't have to drive around the parking lot finding the closest possible spot to the door. You can walk a little bit further. That's fine. That adds to that level of physical activity.
Based on your health and how healthy you've been living, the more healthier you've been living, that loss of digestive capacity and immune function will happen later. And the more unhealthy you're living, it'll happen earlier. So I'm not saying, so it has to be, keep this in mind. Yes, we're going to get some loss of protein absorption as we age, but you can delay that loss to much later in life if you're living healthier all through your life, of course, And let's say a person over the age of 80 is having some muscle loss and tissue loss. And that shows you how important it is to do strength training and strength training with the elderly. But it's really strength training your whole life. It's really maintaining your exercise, commitment to exercise throughout all of life and not letting it diminish as you get older. Because even people think of taking supplements, whatever they're taking to retain muscle mass, or nothing works as well as continually exposure to strength training in the elderly. And yes, we need protein adequacy, and we eat foods that give protein adequacy. We're eating black beans and lentils. We're eating soybeans and tofu. We're eating, green vegetables like asparagus and artichokes. Artichokes are really high in protein. We're eating high protein foods. And we're eating hemp seeds, which are high in protein.
So a high quality diet with enough protein including plant-based proteins as the core of that is key. So beans, nuts, and aiming for 20 to 35 grams per meal.
When people say they're going plant-based, the first question they often hear is, how do you get your protein? And it makes sense that this concern would pop up, considering that the meat industry actually brands beef and chicken and fish and turkey and pork and other animal products as proteins, as if all plant foods were carbs.
The truth is, all whole plant foods contain protein, and most provide all 9 essential amino acids in varying amounts. While some plant-based sources may be lower in certain essential amino acids, consuming a wide variety of plant foods can naturally provide all of the essential amino acids your body needs. By eating a diverse range of plant proteins throughout the day, you can easily meet your protein requirements. But how much protein do we actually need, and do athletes and older adults require more?
So protein is a really important macronutrient. And of course, if you're an athlete and you're building muscle mass, that's going to be important for you to consume. And as we get older and our bodies become more frail, we're at risk of something called sarcopenia, which is where we experience muscle wasting with age. And of course, having enough protein in those circumstances is also going to be really important. I would generally recommend people have 0.8 to 0.9 grams per kilo of protein, but that will go up, especially if you're somebody who's very physically active, you've got athletic goals, or if you're over the age of about 65, I'd suggest maybe somewhere between 1 to 1.6 grams per kilo of protein.
Now, with an athlete, what's interesting is, so if you do the math backwards, so a whole food plant-based diet inherently has about 15% plant-based protein. So if you're eating, say, 1,800 calories a day, and you weigh 75, 80 kilos, and you do the math backwards, that's going to put you right at 0.8, 0.9. So I'm training for Ironman, right? Mm-hmm. I need twice that. I need 1.6 grams per kilogram. How many? But I'm not eating 1,800 calories anymore. I'm eating 4,000 calories, right? How much protein? What happened to my protein intake? It doubled. Okay. So for most people, as long as you're getting enough calories, you're going to get enough protein. Now, the issue as we get older is, if you're trying to lose weight, it's a paradox, right? You don't want to consume more calories and you need to get more protein. So I do recommend, snacking on hummus and, these more high protein foods. There may be a role for protein supplements like a plant-based protein powder. Not a ton of research on that. But getting it through plants is ideal because again, when we talk about food, what we should really be thinking about is not protein and not carbs. It's the package that the protein comes in.
I like to think about BLT, and that's not bacon, lettuce, tomato. That's beans, lentils, tofu. It's really helpful to incorporate those food types in most of our meals during the day to allow us to really relax and enjoy our food and get enough protein.
There is evidence showing that as we age, we absorb protein less efficiently. So it's important to get a little bit more protein when you're older than 65, and I would even say older than 50.
Nicole, what are some of your favorite protein sources?
Well, Ocean, I love to add beans and lentils to my meals, snack on chickpeas, or easily blend tofu into soups to boost protein intake. And some other things you can do, instead of having only a banana for a snack, enjoy your banana with peanut butter. Or instead of having toast and coffee in the morning, create a protein-rich oatmeal. Oats already have some protein, and then you could sprinkle some hemp seeds and drizzle some nut or seed butter on top and use protein-rich unsweetened soy milk as your base rather than water, or almond milk, which is mostly water-based. Some brands of unsweetened soy milk deliver as much as 12 grams of protein per cup.
What about the 9 essential amino acids? They're basically all found in all whole plant foods, but the levels vary. And lately, a lot of people have been talking about one particular amino acid, which is leucine. Is it something you should pay attention to?
Leucine is an amino acid. There are 20 amino acids, or a protein. So amino acid is another word for protein. We have 20. There's 9 amino acids that our body does not make. So those are the essential amino acids. Leucine is one of those. It's actually one of the branched chain amino acids, which have been shown to be good for muscle strength and endurance. The research is, there is some research on isolating leucine. For healthy adults, we don't see it do too much improvement in strength, but for older adults that maybe aren't getting enough protein just in general, or they're not getting adequate amounts in their diet, then that drops the leucine amino acid lower in their body. And we do see that if they supplement or if they just eat foods that are rich in leucine, we do see improved muscle strength, or MPS, muscle protein synthesis. Typically, when I'm counseling patients, I don't worry about individual amino acids. If you're getting adequate protein, if you're getting adequate calories, you're typically getting adequate protein. Now, for the older generation who may be a little bit weaker, they're not out there working out every day, which does help with muscle synthesis as well. I will sometimes say, let's focus on those higher protein items, or just make sure that we're getting them in once a day. But in general, I'm not pulling apart individual essential amino acids and worrying about them.
If you eat a variety of whole plant foods, including some legumes and nuts and seeds, and if you're eating enough calories overall, then you should be getting plenty of protein. And you probably don't need to think about the specific amino acids, including leucine, because you'll get plenty of them in your food. If you're over the age of 65 and you don't eat a lot of calories, you may want to emphasize protein-rich plant foods like legumes and especially soy foods. If that's difficult for some reason, you may want to consider a supplement. We're going to go into all of this in a lot more depth in episode 7.
Yes, we will. Now, creatine is another compound that generates a lot of interest in the health and fitness community. While our bodies naturally produce creatine, levels decrease with age. We can also get some from food, but creatine is primarily found in animal products, so plant-based eaters tend to have lower stores. Research suggests that vegans and vegetarians may benefit more from creatine supplementation, especially as they age.
Let's take a closer look at what creatine is, how it works, and why it could be especially beneficial for plant-based eaters and older adults.
Creatine supplementation is a hot topic these days, not only from the perspective of improving musculoskeletal health, but also improving brain health. Historically, I think we associated creatine with bodybuilders or athletes, but I believe that the research is growing and the research exists that it can offer benefits for adults of all ages, including older adults. So if you remember back to your biology class, creatine helps regenerate ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the primary energy carrier in our cells. So yes, creatine supplementation can be helpful for men and women who are trying to gain or retain lean muscle, combining nutrition with a healthy exercise program. Older adults are the same. I also want to make sure I emphasize that not only does creatine supplementation improve muscle strength and lean body mass, but it can also help your brain. There's a growing body of data suggesting that creatine may have neuroprotective properties. And you may see some people talking about taking it to prevent jet lag, or helping with memory and cognitive processing, tasks that require quick thinking. So it's good for the body, it's good for the brain.
If you had to pick a supplement that's been discussed more lately than in the past, creatine is a good one to bring up, particularly for whole food, plant-based, vegan eaters. It just is relatively low in our diet, even if we do eat all the wonderful colors of the rainbow, as many in a day as possible. So in terms of downside, some of the real weight gym rats, and that's an okay term, that's not a disparaging term. I give you credit if you spend hours a week in the gym lifting weights. That's an honorable rat. But some will start at 25 grams a day of creatine. It's usually what's called creatine monophosphate, often a powder. And then they'll reduce it to maybe 5 grams a day as a maintenance. There are some issues with water retention and swelling of the ankles. We call edema in the medical world. And I'm not usually advising people that level of dosing.
There are various forms of creatine. If you're interested in adding creatine to your supplement regimen, I would recommend creatine monohydrate. A common regimen and where I start people when I'm coaching them is about 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate a day. But with any supplement, you need to choose high quality from reputable sources and ensure that they've been third-party tested. But Creatine is beneficial for men and women in terms of supporting your bone health, your musculoskeletal health, and your brain health.
Exercise is one of the most transformative things we can do for our well-being. It boosts mood, sharpens the brain, supports mental health, helps maintain an optimal weight, and even gives us more energy. And the more you do it, especially if you can find a kind of exercise you enjoy, the easier and more pleasant it becomes.
But let's face it, getting started can feel like a struggle, especially if you've been inactive or feel overwhelmed by the idea of an exercise routine. How can you get moving, stay motivated, and turn exercise into a sustainable and rewarding part of your life?
I liken it to kind of pushing a snowball over the top of the mountain. If you get the snowball to the top, you don't have to push anymore. You start to feel better. You start to lose weight. Your aches and pains go away. You get off your meds, on and on. The hard part's getting the snowball to the top. And, first you got to find a reason to push. And I think we try to scare people. You need to get your sugars down. You're going to cut your toes off or get your blood pressure down. I mean, people know that. A different way to frame purpose is ask them, why would you not want those things to happen? It's the difference between spending your 80th birthday on a cruise ship or in a nursing home, right? So finding that purpose, figuring out how to lower the slope of the road and the height of the mountain. And that's asking yourself honestly, what's going to make the change hard? And then lastly, kind of back to the importance of social connection. It's recruiting as many people as you can to help push the snowball, because we know that there's tons of research around the fundamental importance of the people that you surround yourself with. And the impact they have on your health and decisions and behaviors.
So what I always tell people is the best time of day to do it, especially if you're a busy working person, is to do it before your day starts. If you're working nights, do it before your night starts. But get it done, get it out of the way. It works like coffee. It's a stimulant. And at the same point, you're able to reap all the benefits. And it lowers blood pressure, improves bone density, improves your memory, improves your blood vessel conditioning. There's so many positives.
I am not the YouTube generation, but so many people I know have been able to increase their strength and their stamina and their flexibility by literally just being in their living room and watching some videos that help them to learn. I mean, that is the beauty of YouTube, right? You don't have to, buy some really expensive course, or you don't have to go get a personal trainer at the gym. You really can just type in what you're looking for. How do I increase my, flexibility in my, lower body, and something will come up. So lean into resources, right? And learn new things. It's so important as we age to just be learning new things every day anyway, right? For our brains and the elasticity up here. So, do something new as an exercise that you can learn, anywhere, but YouTube can be a good place to start so that you're challenging both your body and your brain. And then I think it's critically important to be outside in nature and move. At least I have to do it every day or I'm a crazy person, but 4 times a week, 3 times a week, like just get out there. And even if it's snowy, get out there, right? That certainly lifts your metabolism because your body is on overdrive trying to warm itself up when on those cold days. It's so refreshing. But I just think that balance of being in nature and being near the oxygen, and the trees or the ocean or whatever it is that you have, it changes your mood and your attitude about moving your body. I think it's really hard to just, go to the gym every day or be indoors or stuck indoors or, so even if you have a little bit of challenges moving, you can walk down your sidewalk probably, right? Walk down your sidewalk and back and call it a day. And the next day, walk down the sidewalk and back and do it again.
Find a way to play. Because movement for a child is play. And we somehow lose that in adulthood. And if you can just figure out a way to play vigorously, whatever it is, begin with that childlike play in mind as sort of the curious discover, like what could I do that would be playful and get me going?
So my first recommendation would be for you to find movement or activity that you enjoy. And that doesn't mean you have to go to the gym. So I love going to the gym. To me, it's my happy place, and I don't mind going there. But there are a lot of individuals that are not comfortable there. They may be intimidated. They may not know what to do. And that's okay. So the first thing I'd say is that if you have a body, you have a gym. You can make a gym out of anywhere that you are. Using body weight as your form of resistance training is a very easy way to start. And that could be doing squats, doing push-ups against the wall, doing push-ups on the floor. You can carry cans or carry bags. So I don't want the gym to be a barrier for you to introducing strength training into your daily life. And the same goes with any form of movement. My strongest recommendation is to find something you love to do and to move forward from there, because it's not going once a month or once a year. It's going consistently that will allow you to derive the benefits that are going to improve your health.
For the people that I can understand, I'm just so busy and I work so much, but keep moving and do those little tricks. Like if you work in an office building and you got to go pee, take the stairs 3 floors down to that bathroom. Why are you going to the bathroom that's right outside the hall, right? So park for grocery shopping at the last spot in the lot and just make yourself get those steps in. It doesn't have to be dedicated exercise the way we think of an actual activity of exercise or sport. It can just be moving.
Take it easy on yourself. Don't self-berate. Don't call yourself names. Don't be angry with yourself. If you mess things up, just start it again, right? I think a lot of times why people stop exercise programs. I know a lot of times why people stop exercise programs, and it's because they've been way too hard on themselves and they didn't do it exactly perfect. They just stop. And nobody does it perfect. Just get out the next day and move your body.
Maintaining mobility and reducing pain are essential for staying active and feeling your best. And one technique that's gaining popularity is called myofascial release. This therapeutic approach involves applying gentle, sustained pressure to the myofascial connective tissue, which can become tight and create pain in other parts of the body. If there are any runners listening, they probably know about the IT band, which can get super tight after running. And when you feel that tightness, it can create pain in other parts of your body, like your knees or your hips or even your back.
You can do this right at home with a foam roller, which is easy to find online or at most fitness stores. Foam rolling is an excellent way to release tension. Gently roll over the area that feels tight to help relieve stiffness and facilitate movement. Keeping your connective tissue flexible not only reduces pain, but also improves flexibility and restores mobility. Yoga classes or physical therapy sessions may also incorporate myofascial release for a more guided experience.
But what about when pain makes movement feel nearly impossible or just super uncomfortable? For people with conditions like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, staying active can feel like a constant battle. What are these conditions really, and what causes them, and what helps address them?
So the difference between rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis is pretty much mechanical versus autoimmune. So rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. So your immune system is attacking your joints. But not only is rheumatoid arthritis just at the joints, it can affect the eyes, the lungs, the heart, and the skin, and many different organs. And the distribution of rheumatoid arthritis is usually at the first part of your knuckles, called the MCPs, and the middle part of your joints of your fingers, called the PIPs. And that's one of the patterns we see, and there's morning stiffness and there's swelling of the joints. Whereas in osteoarthritis, that is more mechanical. So that's more wear and tear, traditionally thought. And it can affect the last parts of your fingers, called the DIPs, and the middle parts of your fingers, called the PIPs. And typically, you don't see as long as morning stiffness for the fingers or the other joints. And you don't see swelling of the joints either in osteoarthritis. So typically you see osteoarthritis in younger individuals if they've been in the military, or if they're doing a lot of sports, or they're using their hands a lot for their work. Then you can typically see osteoarthritis at a younger age, but typically it's at an older age. So osteoarthritis is not as serious as rheumatoid arthritis, because rheumatoid arthritis is the whole body involved. But osteoarthritis is just more of the local joints.
When you have a healthy weight, there's less strain, less of a toll on your joints, particularly in your hips, your feet, and your knees. And then a healthful diet that minimizes the inflammation in our bodies So we're talking about exactly the same foods that we would envision in a Mediterranean style diet: fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, really important for reducing the inflammation in our body, and then eliminating things like refined starches, added sugars, red meat, saturated fats, trans fats. And then low impact physical activity, walking, cycling, Pilates, swimming. Identify something you enjoy and incorporate that into your life.
Food definitely affects osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Now, there are studies out there that show that even with osteoarthritis, which is wear and tear, that a whole food plant-based diet can also help with that. There are some case studies out there that patients with knee osteoarthritis, a whole food plant-based diet has helped their knee osteoarthritis as well as other arthritis. And there's a study also with fiber, that the more fiber you eat, the less inflammation you get, the less metabolic syndrome, the less risk of obesity, and also less joint pain as well. So there's that association there. And diet can also help with rheumatoid arthritis. So diet can be used to calm down the immune system and be anti-inflammatory. So you can use food as medicine to heal RA as well.
When it comes to building a healthy habit, one of the things that helps it stick is when we're doing it with other people.
And when you exercise with someone you love, you're getting multiple benefits, including exercise, loving connection, and you're increasing your odds of success long term.
It's very well known that social support is generally beneficial. If I know that I'm going to be meeting my good friend down at the park at 6 a.m. to go for a run or go for a walk, I'm not going to let my friend just show up by themselves. I'm not going to leave them hanging.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go. I'm going to be there. And so there is that social component. There's other aspects of social support as well. Like when my wife wants to go out and go for a good walk and she asks me, yes, I want to be with her. So I will go out with her. And so it's these things that level of social support can be really very helpful.
Most people, 80% of the world are extroverts. I am not one of them, but I definitely know that people have more success with anything, most things, when they do it with their pack, right? Pack mentalities. We're a lot like our canine friends. And so finding a buddy, getting somebody to do it with, committing together, whether it's a neighbor or a family member. I have seen people have so much more success when they have a buddy and they're doing it with someone than just doing it solo, because it's easy to give up on ourselves.
On the other hand, as well, there are other people that benefit from time by themselves. And so, for an example, like when I go to the gym, actually, I like to go to the gym by myself, really. I like to put my headphones on. I like to listen to my music, and then I ignore the world around me. And I like that. I benefit from that. And at the end of the day, when I'm thinking about the gym, I'm thinking about that time by myself, actually, that I get to have by myself without anyone interrupting me. And so there's these things that you have to learn about yourself, the drivers for this type of behavior and the behavior change.
There are many factors that are important in sustaining long-term a fitness routine. And that is my empowering people with knowledge about what fitness is, and then empowering with the tools to make this part of what they do is my goal. And the first thing that's important is that it has to become intrinsically motivated, meaning that, there are lots of extrinsic things, outside of you, that you do in order to think, I have to exercise. I never want people to feel I have to exercise, whether you're doing it because your employer wants it or your partner wants it. You need to find something that brings you joy. Movement should be joyful. That's why I love dancing. I think incorporating music into your workout is important. I love telling people, dance like no one is watching. That's one of the best workouts that you can get. You need to be happy and joyful with whatever you're doing as your quote unquote exercise for you to sustain it long term. Exercise isn't something that you do one and done. It's not something that you start on January 1st and you finish on February 1st. It needs to be something that you wake up and you think about and you plan and you're intentional about it, but doing it with other people is awesome. You get the social connection, but you also get the accountability, which is a little bit of an extrinsic motivator. If you have a workout partner or a group that you're going to train with, you never want to let them down. You need to find joy, and joy may come from music, it may come from dancing, it may come from the social connection, and then it needs to be something that you enjoy doing. And that may be different in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, but it has to bring joy.
I love playing racquetball. I love working out. My dad and I started doing it together almost 25 years ago. I love dancing and playing frisbee on the beach. I don't love jogging, but sometimes it's a great way to get a lot of exercise in a short period of time. I also have an electric assist bike, and I ride to most appointments and activities that are within about 10 miles of my home, which gets me a lot of what I call functional exercise. I also love gardening and backpacking and hiking with loved ones. I've had some fun with pickleball, but I must admit I haven't fallen in love with it yet. How about you, Nicole? What are some of your favorite kinds of exercise?
Well, Ocean, running has always been a passion of mine. It lets me enjoy nature, movement, and music all at once, which boosts both my physical and mental well-being. To counteract the tightness running caused in my IT bands, I started practicing yoga in 1999, and it quickly became a daily ritual for mental clarity and flexibility. Lately, hiking resonates with me most. It offers the chance to explore new places, stay active with cardio and strength training, and connect with nature. Sharing hikes with a friend or my partner adds even more meaning through connection.
So as you're watching right now, I want to invite you to think about what kinds of exercise you love or have ever loved. Things that are just plain fun, that feel good. And if you aren't doing them as much as you would ideally love to, then see if you can come up with a plan for bringing more movement into your life in ways you will be lit up by.
No matter how you move, you're going to need fuel, and the source of that fuel matters a lot. More and more professional athletes are coming to realize this and using optimal nutrition to recover faster and get a leg up on the competition.
Working with elite athletes as an example, a lot of times athletes will eat a lot of energy-dense foods, but not a lot of nutrient-dense foods, because they're trying to service a caloric regime, a caloric requirement. And the prevailing narrative in sports nutrition is fueling for performance. That's a 40, 50-year-old phrase. Fueling to build, or you're trying to bulk up or lean out. Right, and so those are fueling and fueling for energy, right, and then feeding to build, right, matter, be it muscle matter or any piece of matter in your body. It's all protein that's made of. The prevailing narrative is fuel, build, and then eat plants for health. And athletes are already healthy, so they're like, why bother? Like, I don't need that because I'm already healthy. So they don't understand the performance characteristics of plants or of why it's like critical path for their body. If their body's their business, right? I mean, if you look at the GOATs in the acronym, the greatest of all time, athletically, be that Tom Brady or Lionel Messi or Lewis Hamilton or Serena Williams and Novak Djokovic and on and on and on. You look at their diets, even Phelps and Carl Lewis and Bolt. If you study their dietary patterns, they may have come in there guns blazing and not had the best dietary habits. Mid-career, they realize food is a weapon and it's a power tool. And then they get this idea of conditioning physiological performance and vascular capacity, endothelial function, which is maximizing energy output. The microbiome, keeping your immune you need to be world-class with your immunity and having cognition and brain and mental clarity.
I lived in St. Louis before I moved here to DC, and I had the honor and the privilege of being the team physician for the St. Louis Cardinal baseball team and the St. Louis Rams football team. Now, this was before I discovered the power of plants. And but I did learn a lot about performance and nutrition, but I also learned about a lot of the bro science that's propagated into high-performing athletes. This protein kind of obsession. I mean, you go to the locker room and there would literally be blenders all around the locker room with big tubs of whey powder and things like that. Really, you go to the pre-game breakfast for the football, when we were traveling, it was pasta, chicken, and steak, because you got to get your carbs and your protein, right? That's how I used to think. I had been a pretty competitive marathon runner in med school. Unfortunately, 12, 15 years ago, I found out you can't really outrun a mediocre diet. I injured my knee, put my dog, didn't do the rehab after surgery, gained a lot of weight, and I became a patient and saw forks over knives. Thought, wow, food is medicine. How come I didn't learn that in med school? Transitioned to plant-based diet, lost a ton of weight, really reversed every single one of my chronic conditions: cholesterol, borderline blood pressure, borderline diabetes. I had sleep apnea. That was triggering atrial fibrillation. All that went away. And I could exercise again. And to celebrate my 60th birthday, I wanted to do something epic. And I did Lake Placid Ironman 2 weeks after I turned 60, which, was 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a marathon. And what I discovered was in med school, and then same thing with the professional athletes, after a hard game, the next day they're limping around, they're sore, they're stiff. Same thing. I would run a marathon in med school. I couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days. I would be so sore and stiff. You fast forward, 40 years almost, and I'm doing more exercise. And I can honestly tell you, Ocean, I never got sore. I never got stiff.
Hearing how athletes are harnessing plant-based nutrition to optimize performance can be inspiring. But what I think is even more important, actually, is how everyday people, even people who haven't been in great shape, are using the same principles to reclaim their health and their energy and even their sense of purpose.
That's right, Ocean. And our next guest is living proof of just how powerful this can be.
Jonathan Nez, the past president of the Navajo Nation, knows what it's like to struggle with health. At one point, he weighed 300 pounds and had a hard time exercising. But instead of staying stuck, he made a profound shift, turning to a plant-based nutrition and movement pathway as part of his journey to healing. He didn't just change his own life, though. He also used his leadership to inspire healthier choices for the Navajo Nation, which is the largest indigenous tribe in the United States.
Let me start by sharing with you my upbringing. I grew up in a very rural area of this country on the Navajo Nation, having a ranch, getting up early in the morning, taking care of our livestock, cattle, horses, or sheep and goats, and was very active early on. Of course, having a ranch and having a farm, it's hard work and very healthy lifestyle early on. But as I started getting into government and being an elected official, that kind of went out the door because of the long driving. From my home community of Shanto, Arizona to the Navajo Nation capital in Window Rock is about a 3-hour drive. And so staying behind the wheel, 3 hours there, 3 hours back, that's 6 hours of inactivity. And of course, the quicker you can get some food in, the better when you're traveling. And a lot of times it's just hitting those fast food stores. I was elected at a very young age into politics, mid-20s, and just encouraging and hopefully inspiring younger folks. But when I, without not taking care of myself, I blossomed, if you want to call it that, to 300 pounds. And but at the same time, I was telling folks, take care of yourself, stay active, eat well, and yet it just didn't make sense. You got someone telling you to take care of yourself, but yet he's not doing it. And that was me at 300 pounds. And then one day, a young person, of course, our children, our grandchildren, the young people, will tell you the truth. And I was telling them, be active and eat right. And one gentleman, young man, stood up and said, "Hey, Jonathan, you tell us to do this, but look at you. You're over. You're big. That was just blunt." And I was like, of course, I felt saddened by those comments. But after a while, I realized, what, I'm not walking the talk. And I think that's when I was reminded of becoming more back to being healthy, meaning exercising and eating right. And that was the start of my transformation, reminding myself of what I grew up with on our farms, growing corn, beans, and squash, the three sisters, and having that regularly. Right now, I do my best to be vegan, plant-based as much as I can. Of course, there are food deserts all across the country, and especially in communities of color like the Native American communities. But there has been a resurgence of farming in our communities, and yeah, there's been a resurgence of our own indigenous foods, and which is great. It's still continuing today, and for me, we do that on the ranch as well, and share it with other people, especially in tribal communities now. I think there is a revitalization of the seeds that have been handed down from generation to generation and being planted once again, which is an awesome thing to see in tribal communities. I started running. Well, I started walking. I wasn't able to run at 300 pounds, but I put some goals on, put some goals before me, and 3K, 5K, 10K, and marathon, and found out there are some people that run more than 26.2, and it's like, hey, maybe I'll give that a shot, and began to do those longer distances. Yeah, and so that's kind of an overview of how I returned, I guess, full circle back to for myself, more healthier, and of course, because of that, I was able to utilize some of those teaching in governing. Running miles and miles, you get to be able to think about things and jot some good ideas down, and I think that really helped me being the president of the Navajo Nation.
As we've explored throughout this episode, exercise is a cornerstone of health, supporting everything from muscle strength and mobility to mental clarity and emotional well-being. But the key to making these benefits a lasting part of your life is developing sustainable habits. So when it comes to building new habits, what works?
If you want physiological vitality, if you want game with your body, that some pretty, eat well, move well, think well, love well, pray well, connect. It's like pretty, but we fail and stumble and bumble and fumble and mumble in the doing and the execution and getting that habit stuff going. And so that's the work, though.
Change is very hard, and the book Atomic Habits by James Clear is really a great book, and I recommend it. I've read it a few times and recommend it to a lot of patients. So what he talks about in that book is you want to make your goals, if you will, so simple you can't fail. So I'm going to walk 5 minutes today. And then, you put your shoes by the front door, so you see them every time you go out the door. And then next week I'm going to walk 7 minutes. And next week I'm going to walk 10 minutes. Pretty soon, you're walking 2 or 3 miles. Certainly if you don't want to go run 10 miles the first day, right? Because that's not going to work. You're going to be sore and stiff, and you're not going to do it the next day. So just very small incremental changes that you build on. Mm-hmm. And most important is just find something you like to do, because it doesn't matter, right? If you like to walk. If you like to bowl. If you like to work in the garden, work in the garden. If you like to hike. It doesn't matter. If you like to dance. I mean, so it's finding something that gives you joy, and doing it, right? And doing it again tomorrow and the next day, and building on those very small incremental changes.
I had a client who had terrible arthritis. She was in my rapid recovery group, could barely move at all. And I was like, you need to start moving and exercising. So she started with fruit. She started with like apples in her hands, wow. Then she moved up. And then by the end, she had a melon, like she was just being great. But we need to be able to do at least one overhead press, right? What if you fall down and something's on you, right? You need to be able to squat and stand up. You need to be able to do one push-up. right? You need to, I mean, I'd like to be able to do a pull-up. My dad always jokes, my dad's still running 5Ks and all that stuff. He's always been into fitness. But he said, you know, I always tell people, in case you're hanging out of a helicopter by one arm, you need to be able to pull yourself up. You know,
You
he
never know when that's
he
gonna
still has
happen.
delusions that he's Sylvester Stallone. But, you know, but it's really important as we get older especially, but at all, that we maintain our muscle density. And that's not going to happen just by walking. We have to challenge our muscles to be strong and grow.
What's the point of being alive if you're not mentally and physically fit to enjoy your life? It seems like it's almost insane to destroy the one beautiful life we're given, this opportunity to be alive and to enjoy our loved ones and the beauty of the world and to take care of and to be able to emote and care for other people in the world around us.
Health and wellness teaching with resilience and overcoming is a plus for the next generation, so that they can be able to say, hey, I got healthy and I'm able to live a lot longer, and to share that information to my children and grandchildren. That's going to be the goal for all of us, is handing down a teaching so that our future is bright and is better. And as they say in Indian country, it's better for 7 generations and beyond.
I think the pursuit of health is a worthy endeavor, because investing in your health is the greatest gift you can give yourself and those you love. Being healthy empowers you to live your life to its fullest, embracing every day with energy, with purpose, and with joy.
The best exercise routine is the one you can stick to. Keep it fun. Dance, hike, swim, bike, play a sport, or shimmy in your chair. See if you can find something you genuinely enjoy so it doesn't feel like a chore.
And don't forget about community. Exercising with friends, family, or a group can add accountability and make the experience more rewarding.
Every bit of movement adds up, and over time, those small changes build momentum and create big results. By weaving exercise into your life in ways that work for you, it becomes a natural and fulfilling part of your daily routine.
Today, we've focused a lot on movement because it's critically important to overall health. In our next episode, we're going to bring our attention back to food. Specifically, we're going to look at nutrition, including facts, fads, and essential nutrients.
We'll explore the science of food, some of the hottest food controversies of our times, and look at how you can truly nourish your body well so you can, as Dr. Bascom puts it, embrace every day with energy, purpose, and joy.
Thank you for joining us today. Stay active, stay curious, and we'll see you next time as we continue the journey toward a healthier, more vibrant life. Let's do this. At Food Revolution Network, we believe healthy, sustainable food should be for everyone. And when you give your body the right fuel, you can thrive. Each year, the Food Revolution Summit features world-renowned experts sharing life-changing insights. But with so much wisdom, it can be hard to take it all in at once. That's why we created the Empowerment Package. Lifetime access to every summit episode and interview, full transcripts, and over $1,000 in bonuses to help you absorb and apply it all at your own pace. When you invest in an empowerment package, you're taking a stand for your health. And you're also investing in the food revolution. You're joining a movement that's changing the course of history. Plus, with every package purchased, we donate to Trees for the Future, so they can plant another organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. So if you want to nourish your body, support those you love, and help to heal the planet, this is your moment. Join us. Support the mission. Get your empowerment package today. Thank you so much for sharing in that powerful and moving episode. to express your opinions on what you've been hearing and find out what others are saying, please continue posting and engaging in the comment section on the broadcast page. Lucy said, my favorite type of exercise is line dancing. It's great overall, especially for my brain. So cool, Lucy. As I believe Dr. Funk said in that episode, the best kind of exercise is the kind you will do and hopefully that you will enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, then you're getting all kinds of benefits for your mental health, even maybe your sense of spiritual peace and well-being, as well as the benefits of physical movement. Plus, you're a lot more likely to stick with something that you find pleasurable. Moni said, creatine brand, vegan. A lot of people asking about creatine and best brands and options. So I believe pretty much all the creatine monohydrate you can find is vegan as far as supplement brands are concerned. But not all of them are created equal. Some of them are contaminated with any number of things. So at FRN, we did a bit of research on this, and our favorite creatine brand is made by Complement, and they do third-party testing and is a really clean source. And if you go to foodrevolution.org/creatine, you can find out more and get, I think it's a 40% discount for FRN members. And they'll also make a contribution to our work if you purchase from that link. Again, that's foodrevolution.org/creatine. There are many brands out there. That's just the one that we feel the best about. Carol said, I'm 80 years old and joined Food Revolution about 7 months ago. I always find something new to learn. Love this. Since I joined, I have lowered my blood pressure to normal range. How wonderful, Carol. Congratulations. Thanks for being a part of the Food Revolution with us. Joyce said, hi, Ocean. You mentioned your smoothie, I think, in episode 2. Love it. It's great. Thank you. Do we also get enough nutrients if we juice? I wanted to start juicing, but I wasn't sure if I would get enough nutrients without the pulp. Do you have a favorite recipe for juicing? Well, Joyce, thank you for asking. Juicing can be a great way to get a very concentrated dose of certain nutrients or sugars very quickly because you consume a lot of fruit or vegetables fast. Think about if you make orange juice. How long does it take to eat an orange? Several minutes, probably, and a decent bit of peeling as well as chewing. But if you drink a cup of orange juice, you could consume it in a matter of seconds, and it might contain 3 or 4 oranges. So that's just an example of how it can really hyperconcentrate. So the good news is if what you're concentrating is super health boosting, then that can be really beneficial. But if it's high in added sugars, they'll go straight into your bloodstream. Not added sugars, but even just fruit sugars, they'll go into your bloodstream really fast. And juicing is a form of mild processing. It filters out most of the fiber. So in general, I'm more of a fan of blending than juicing because you get all those wonderful nutrients without losing the fiber. That's what the pulp mostly is. But juicing has some real benefits too, especially if you're juicing things like greens, or even cucumber, foods that have a little more nutrients and don't give you that boost of sugar. You maybe want to use some lemon or ginger to improve the flavor profile without getting too much sweet. Add in an apple to your greens, or a little bit of citrus, maybe some orange just for a little bit of sweet, but not too much. If you go to foodrevolution.org and search for juicing, you'll find a number of articles we've written on the pros and cons of it. And if you join Whole Life Club, our ongoing membership community, you'll find a lot of really cool recipes and other resources. Bonnie said, I've been really enjoying the summit so far. Thank you for all you do. I watched the documentary about your father, John Robbins. Please thank him for me for all his amazing work he has done and is doing. Will do, Bonnie. He's an amazing man, and he's done so much to move the whole food, plant-based movement forward. I was so touched by the documentary. Thank you both for continuing on with his journey doing these summits. I celebrated 3 years vegan on Monday, and I've learned so much from these summits. I'm so happy I bought the empowerment package this year and look forward to so much more learning. Bless you all and much love. Bonnie, thank you so much for sharing that story. So grateful you're in this journey. For those who are not aware, there's a film called Love Over Money about my dad's remarkable story, including his relationship with my grandpa Irv, who started Baskin-Robbins, and my dad's journey away from the company. It's a really powerful film. It's actually available on Amazon. If you just look for Love Over Money, John Robbins, you can find it there. It's from Gaia. But Most of all, Bonnie, I just want to thank you for your love and your gratitude and your partnership in this movement. And congratulations on your 3-year Vegaversary and for getting the empowerment package so you can keep learning, growing, and deepening in this wisdom throughout the year. Sharon said, "Hi, Ocean. Thank you for all you do. I started the journey of being plant-based after being with you for the last summit in 2024. I've lost 52 pounds, cured my IBS, am off my hypertension meds, and my next goal is to get off reflux and allergy meds. Thank you so, so much. This is an amazing program." Sharon, congratulations. What a wonderful story. Last summit, this is your FR anniversary, right? Last year was your first summit. Here we are celebrating a year later. What incredible progress. Keep going. Keep moving forward. We're sending you so much love and blessings and best wishes on your healing journey. Esme from Ireland said, "I just wanted to say a huge thank you for bringing everything together in this summit. There's so much information out there and it can feel pretty overwhelming, so having it all in one place is brilliant. Over the past few years, with hitting 40 and having survived a stroke aged 30, I've been on a big journey with my mindset around exercise and food. Despite a few setbacks along the way, I'm feeling more motivated than ever to keep improving, not just for myself, but for my 2 boys as well, aged 4 and 6. I'm becoming more and more interested in a plant-based approach, and I'd really love to start making some positive changes at home. The boys eat quite well already, but I have to admit removing old favorites like sausages might spark a bit of a rebellion. Still, I'm really keen to cut back on processed foods and help them build a healthy, happy relationship with what's on their plates. If you have any hints or tips for cooking plant-based meals that keep little taste buds excited, and hopefully without too many battles, I'd be grateful for your advice. Thanks again for all the inspiration." Well, Esme, thank you so much for being here and for asking and for caring about your kids. What a precious thing that you have these youngsters in your life and that you're loving them and caring about them and thinking about how to nourish them and set them up for a lifetime of well-being. So here are 7 fun tips for keeping little taste buds happy with plant-based meals. Number 1, get them involved. Kids are way more likely to eat something they help make. So let them pick veggies at the store or help them stir or chop, or with supervision, chop that is, or they can garnish dishes. Help them even suggest recipes. Talk about, we could make this or this. What do you guys prefer? Get them engaged. Number 2, make it colorful. Bright, varied colors make meals more appealing. You want to think about things like rainbow salads and fruit skewers and bowls with different colorful toppings. Number 3 is to blend veggies into sauces. So you might want to sneak some spinach or other vegetables in there, and that can really help a lot to make it easier for you to get the veggies in without them even realizing that that's what's going on. You might want to try finger foods. Kids love bite-sized options like roasted chickpeas or veggie sticks with hummus or mini veggie patties. Or in our family, we actually do what we call a dip salad. So we'll wash lettuce, peppers, avocado, tomatoes, cucumbers, and then we'll dip them in dressing. So we put a really yummy dressing in a bowl and then finger food style, grab the veggie and dip it in and eat like this. And a lot of kids really like it, and our twins love that. You might want to play with shapes and names, like use cookie cutters to make fun shaped sandwiches, or call broccoli tiny trees, or sweet potatoes orange rockets. You could offer dips. Sometimes the magic is in the sauce. So nut butters, hummus, guacamole, tahini dressings can all make veggies and grains more fun. And repeat exposure without pressure. It often takes kids multiple tries to find out that they like a food. So giving them a chance, letting them take a bite, put it on their lips to celebrate that win, and curiosity can win over time, and familiarity breeds comfort and ease. Now, as far as recipes, you can try out some of our recipes of the day. You might want to get a copy of Powered by Plants, which is the latest cookbook Nicole and I came out with, available at poweredbyplantsbook.com. If you join Whole Life Club, our membership community, you'll get access to our entire library of more than 1,400 health-boosting and incredibly delicious recipes. Many of them are very kid-friendly. And keep learning and growing and connecting. And if you can find other families that are trying to eat healthy food, maybe pool together and share meals together with them. That can help normalize healthy eating and help your kids realize that their family's not too weird. LaShawn said, "Hi, Ocean. FRN saved my life. I've been joining the summit since 2023. I discovered Dr. Goldner in the autoimmune session. I worked directly with her and was able to reverse lupus. My question is, what is the best water filtration system? I only drink bottled water now, but it's getting expensive and I want to reduce plastic use for the environment." Well, LaShawn, thanks for asking. And first of all, thank you for the shout out about Dr. Goldner's work. For those who don't know, we have an in-depth interview with her as one of the expert interviews in this summit. She's amazing. And anybody who's dealing with autoimmune conditions, she is such a powerful resource. She reversed lupus in her own life, and she has incredible programs and tools. I'm so glad that's been helpful for you, LaShawn, and for anybody else. Check out that expert interview if you get the empowerment package. Now, as far as water filters, we've talked about this a couple of times already, so I'll just quickly summarize. There are a lot of options out there. Just to cut to the chase, our favorite water filter for home use for people who are on municipal water systems is the AquaTrue. They make under sink and countertop models, and they're remarkably affordable, and they have less water waste than other reverse osmosis systems, and the water tastes good. And so if you go to foodrevolution.org/water, you can find out more and get a special FRN member discount. And if you buy from that link, they will make a contribution to support our work as well. Deb said, "Is there a particular plan of meditation that you recommend?" Well, Deb, thank you so much for your question and for recognizing the importance of our inner landscape to our overall health and to our well-being. You know, when it comes to meditation, there's not one perfect plan that works for everybody. Just like with food, you want to find what nourishes you and what helps you feel more grounded, more centered, more alive. That said, there are some simple, widely loved, and well-documented approaches that you might want to consider. And when I say documented, I want to say there's research backing up profound health benefits as well as mental health and quality of life benefits from these approaches. So one is mindfulness meditation, which involves simply paying attention to your breath, your body, or the present moment without judgment. It's powerful because it helps train your mind to stay connected to what's going on right now instead of spinning into stress or distraction. Apps like Insight Timer or 10% Happier offer guided mindfulness meditations if you want a little support. Or I love Tara Brach. If you go to tarabrach.com, you can find loads of meditations from her. Jack Kornfield has some as well. These are really powerful. I use them regularly. Loving kindness meditation focuses on sending compassion and goodwill to yourself and to others. And it's a beautiful way to soften the heart and build resilience. You might silently repeat phrases like, "May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy." And then you could extend those wishes outward. May my family be safe. May my family be healthy. May my family be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. And you just kind of practice this and repeat this. Then there's breath work and simple stillness. Sometimes the simplest practice is just setting a timer for 5 minutes, sitting straight and upright, closing your eyes and just watching your breath. Some people count their breaths. Some people do box breathing. During meditation, you don't have to stop thinking. You're just learning to notice without getting caught up in your thoughts. And if you get to a place where the mind actually settles or stills, then that is particularly profound. At the heart of it, meditation is about presence. There's no right or wrong way to start. Even 1 minute of deep breathing can be a beautiful practice. And the key for a lot of people is consistency over intensity. A few minutes a day practiced regularly can do more for your well-being than an hour once in a great while. So again, Deb, thank you for bringing this important piece of the puzzle into the conversation. The cornerstones of lifestyle medicine are eat better, stress less, love more, and move more. Well, stress less has a lot to do with mindfulness and all the things that help calm our nervous systems, calm our minds, and help us be present in this moment. Amy said, "Thank you for this incredible series. As a 5-year rare pancreatic cancer survivor still fighting, I'm putting this information into practice. It's been 3 weeks today since I started exploring Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen discussed with me by a rheumatologist I was referred to as a complementary treatment. I just have to share that after 7 full days, my current tumor shrank significantly from my previous PET/CT scan. What? As a 25-plus year RN nurse practitioner, I was searching for a reason why and how. I have not started any treatment between these scans, just 7 days following a whole food plant-based diet. I had never been taught in school or heard as a patient even a quarter of this information. My husband and teen son are slowly adapting to this diet as well, and I'm trying to teach all my nursing students, family, friends, fellow nurses, etc. Again, thank you. Amy, thank you for being here. Our heart's going out to you, and our prayers are going out to you in your journey, hopefully, of being a cancer, not just survivor, but thriver. And congratulations on this progress. We see this not infrequently, and it is always so heartwarming. Obviously, keep with it and keep spreading the word. And as an RN and as an NP, you have an incredible opportunity to influence other people. So thank you so much for being a part of this revolution with us. You may even want to consider our plant-based coaching certification if you want to go deeper in this knowledge that you didn't get in school and be able to share it more deeply and passionately with others. But of course, right now, your first focus has got to be on what's going to help you and your healing journey, and it sounds like you are on the path. And I'm glad that your family is slowly adapting as well, because of course one of the best ways they can support you right now in your healing journey is to eat with you and support your eating in ways that optimize your well-being. Holly said, good morning from the Kansas City area. This is all very enlightening. Can you share about vegetarian impossible meats, burgers, and chicken nuggets? My family enjoys these, and I'm curious your thoughts. Thank you. Well, Holly, thank you so much for your great question. And first of all, it's wonderful that you're being so thoughtful about what's on your plate and on your family's plates. Curiosity is a powerful part of the journey. Now, when it comes to products like Impossible Burgers and plant-based chicken nuggets, here's how we might look at them. They can be a step in a positive direction, especially for people who are transitioning away from conventional meat and want some familiar flavors and textures without the environmental and ethical impact of animal agriculture. Now, something like a chicken nugget that is perhaps even fried is not going to be a health food by any stretch of the imagination. But if we're comparing, say, the processed plant meats to meats, well, Dr. Christopher Gardner conducted a study to look at this. He compared the effects of grass-fed beef versus Beyond Meat burgers on cardiovascular health. And the study found that the people who ate the Beyond Meat had better blood work results, and particularly lower TMAO levels compared to the people who ate the grass-fed beef burgers. That said, it's important to know that many of these products are still highly processed. They often contain isolated proteins, added oils, often high in saturated fat, although not as high as the beef burgers. They may be high in sodium, and they sometimes have additives to mimic the taste and texture of meat. In the case of Impossible Meats, they actually have a genetically engineered form of heme iron that's been added in, which gives it that kind of bloody taste to it. And heme iron is, well, it increases your iron levels, but for a lot of people, that can also make it a bit carcinogenic. So some of the downsides you'll get with meat are present then. So I wouldn't say these are optimal for health, but you know what? If it helps your family make a transition, then having a little bit now and then is probably not going to kill anybody, and it might make home life more friendly and easeful. And especially if you're able to use these in combination with other things, like supposing you're making a spaghetti and you get some veggies in there and a nice sauce and, some brown rice, noodles, and then you're able to get little, Beyond Meat crumble or something in there that gives a texture that gets everybody to eat it. Like, cool. Or adding it to a nice bean chili. But you want to base your diet as much as possible on whole plant foods like beans and lentils and quinoa and vegetables and nuts and seeds that deliver your fiber and your antioxidants and your phytonutrients without excess sodium and saturated fat and additives and so forth. Lisa said, thank you so much for this summit. This is my first one, and it's been so useful and beneficial. I'm learning a lot in regards to how to improve my health and overall well-being. I wish I knew all this information years ago. Thank you, Ocean. Love your kindness and encouraging personality, and all the medical professionals for these detailed and engaging presentations on various aspects of health. You're making a positive impact on the lives of many. I've been slowly transitioning to eating more of a plant-based diet over the past couple years. This summit has clearly highlighted the benefits of a plant-based diet and inspired me to be more focused on adopting a complete plant-based diet. I have to check out the recipes. They look delicious, and I'm looking forward to trying them. I'm a busy teacher, so wish we had more than one day to watch the presentations. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being here. Yes, I do hope you try out some of the recipes. And, of course, we have 3 more recipes of the day every day of this summit. I hear that you're wishing you had more time to watch the presentations, and I love that you are a teacher. Teachers are so important. I love the teachers of this world. I love you for being a teacher and teaching the next generation, and we want to make it easier for you to absorb all this information, and I know you'll put it to good use with the students that you touch. So we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Our team will follow up with you, so you will have more than a day to watch the presentations. You'll have them for life, and all the expert interviews as well. Congratulations. Our team will be in touch. And congratulations also to all of our new empowerment package owners, including George from South Carolina, Karen from New Hampshire, Pina from Massachusetts, Noelle from Texas, Tammy from New Mexico, Colin from South Africa, Simon from the UK, Josh from Georgia, Robin from Iowa, Paula from Oklahoma, Eva from Ohio, Carolyn from Colorado, Ralph from Michigan. Thank you all so much for investing in your health and supporting our mission with the empowerment package. You know, we wouldn't be able to do this summit or all the work that we do without your investment and your support. It means so much, and it's part of the way that you can help pay it forward and spread the word while also investing in your health and your well-being for the long haul. Laura said, great session yesterday. What particular brands are good for cookware that do not contain Teflon? Laura, thank you so much for your kind words. Now, you're absolutely right to be mindful about cookware, especially when it comes to avoiding Teflon and other non-stick coatings, because they can release harmful chemicals at high temperatures. We'll be talking more about this in episode 8. The good news is there are some fantastic non-toxic cookware options available today. So a few of the ones you may want to consider. So Extrema makes ceramic cookware. Extrema is Xtrema. Their ceramic cookware is non-toxic, non-reactive, and very durable. However, it doesn't work with induction stoves. Stainless steel is inert and non-toxic, and it can be great for foods that cook with water, like soups or stews or steaming vegetables and so forth. So for big pans, I usually go with that, but it does need water or some kind of oil to keep food from sticking, usually. Cast iron is affordable and can be naturally non-stick when it's properly seasoned. It can be great for high heat cooking, and it does take care to season it properly, and it's also heavy. The other thing about cast iron is it adds some iron to your food, which can be good or bad depending on your iron situation. Too much iron can be carcinogenic. Too little can lead to anemia, so it all depends. Enameled cast iron cookware is cast iron that's been coated with a smooth, durable layer of enamel, which prevents rusting and eliminates the need for seasoning. It's also a lot lighter weight than cast iron because you don't need as much iron in it. And it offers excellent heat retention and even cooking, while the enamel surface makes it easier to clean and allows for cooking acidic foods without damaging the pan. So personally, I like stainless steel for most cooking and enamel-coated cast iron or cast iron for things like pancakes and stir fries and so forth. In terms of the enameled cast iron options, Caraway makes some great ones. They have fairly high prices, but also high quality. There are many other brands of quality enameled cast iron as well. Sharon said, I enjoy this summit so much. This is my second one. I just wanted to say that I'm enjoying your beet balsamic dressing. I love all things beets. I do have a concern though. I wonder if the fat in tahini is a good fat, and is it okay to enjoy this dressing often? Sharon, thanks so much for your kind words, and hooray you for making the beet balsamic dressing. And beets are a wonderful form of sweetness, by the way, that doesn't get talked about enough because they're also super healthy for cardiovascular health, among other things. And I love the beet balsamic dressing as well. Now about tahini, it's made from ground sesame seeds. And yes, it's a source of healthy fat. Sesame seeds provide unsaturated fats that can be heart healthy, and they also provide fiber and plant-based protein and calcium and magnesium and antioxidants. And they've been actually, some of the antioxidants in sesame seeds have been studied for their anti-inflammatory and cholesterol-supported benefits. Now remember, our bodies need fat for various critical functions, including energy production and hormone synthesis and vitamin absorption and cell membrane structure. And it's important to consume healthy fats in moderation, but also to, as much as possible, focus on whole food plant-based sources of fat, which can include avocado, nuts, and seeds. Enter tahini, which is ground up sesame seeds. So I'm a fan. Of course, you don't want to eat all one thing or all another thing, but as part of a healthy, balanced diet, I think tahini is an excellent thing to include. Donna said, this summit has truly been a blessing. I appreciate all the research that's been done and how much you deliver it to us. I was taught last year about plant-based eating. I've been quite successful with it. Your summit has enlightened me much more and has ignited me to continue and delve deeper into this. I am interested in being a coach. Well, Donna, thank you so much for being here and for delving in, and I hope that whatever has been ignited in you can deepen and grow over time. We want to nurture that flame because the cost of the status quo is immense. All around us, people are suffering and dying who might not need to be. So we want to spread the word, and we want to empower you to spread the word, and that's why we created the plant-based coaching certification. You can learn more about it at certification.foodrevolution.org. And at Food Revolution Network, every year we help hundreds of new coaches gain the tools they need to make a difference as plant-based coaches. One of our graduates is Phyllis Leone from Chicago, Illinois. After 36 years in the financial world, Phyllis made a bold leap. She was struggling with chronic illness and she was tired of medications that seemed to only mask her symptoms. So she embraced a whole food plant-based way of living and she transformed her health. Today she's medication-free, pain-free, and helping others. This is Phyllis's story.
You don't have to stay in that vicious cycle of symptoms management. You really can make a transition through whole food plant-based eating to a virtuous cycle of sustainable wellness and live long, healthy, vital, productive lives. My name is Phyllis Leone. I worked in the financial industry for over 36 years. So my definite purpose in life is to empower women in tech and STEM. I have a soft spot for women in tech and STEM because that's where I came from. And I recognize that in a male-dominated environment where the objective is to perform at the highest levels, sometimes you have to make choices. And oftentimes self-care gets to be one of the things that goes down your priority list. So I want to reach back out to those women, and really what took me 3 years to figure out, I want to help them expedite and get to a place of wellness in a very, very short time. So I know that turning around your health is possible because this was my story. I had struggled for years. I had succumbed to lifestyle and diet, chronic illnesses of high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And I felt so helpless. I felt so disempowered. I was so isolated. I was actually told that it was generational, that it would never go away. I'd be on medication for the rest of my life. But as the side effects from the multiple medications became visible, I just thought it would never end. What I came to understand and what I came to learn was that when we give our bodies real nutrition, our bodies know how to come back into balance. And so here I am today, a med-free, pain-free senior, and I know that it is possible to turn your health around. And so my mission is to support women, again, primarily in tech and STEM, but any woman that wants to get off of that downward cycle of deceptive foods and prescription drugs and, diminished health, and they want to get on the positive cycle of sustainable wellness. That's what I'm here for. When I received an email from Ocean Robbins from Food Revolution Network announcing their very first cohort of plant-based coaches, and immediately I knew this is for me. I thought, this is absolutely amazing. The timing is perfect. I'm ready to step into this. And I just signed up, and here I am. So being a coach actually provides a doorway by which I can most significantly impact the world around me. In coaching, I have the opportunity to work with individuals that are looking for a better way so that they can be transformed from, being sick and tired of being sick and tired to a life of radiant wellness. And I am pleased to say that I have had paying clients, and it absolutely does boost my confidence, and it helps me to recognize that, yes, I am doing something that is helpful. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of working with some absolutely brilliant and wonderful women, and going through the plant-based, adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle within a very short period of time resulted in them actually having measurable results in terms of trending weight loss, reduction in their blood pressure. And so the power of this type of eating, it is just unmistakable. And once an individual makes the decision to adopt and fully maintain this lifestyle, they see results, and the more results they see, the more they're motivated to continue. And so it's an ever perpetual upward cycle that we see on this pathway. So for me, it feels like I am making a new start. I'm on a new journey. I've transitioned out of corporate, and I am now on a pathway where I am here in service to women so that they can achieve their very highest potentials in a way that is effective, that is pain-free, that is sickness-free, so that they can have success without sickness.
Thanks so much to Phyllis for sharing that moving story. If you're curious about becoming a plant-based coach, you may want to check out certification.foodrevolution.org. It's a 6-month program. The next cohort starts in January. And if you reserve a spot now with a $100 deposit that is fully refundable, then you can lock in the best rate. So again, if you're interested, go to certification.foodrevolution.org. Jennifer said, in conjunction with Fit Over 40, is getting a DEXA scan prior to the recommended age possible to do and have insurance cover it? I'm 55, and with hormones playing such a vital part of bone health, I feel if waiting until 65, it might be too late to possibly prevent issues. Any help would be appreciated. Jennifer, thank you for your question and for being proactive about your bone health. You're absolutely right that bone health is connected to hormones, especially during and after menopause, and that taking action earlier rather than later can make a real difference. Now, a DEXA scan measures bone density and helps assess your risk for osteoporosis or fractures. The standard guideline in the US that's often recommended is for routine DEXA screening starting at age 65 for women. But in many cases, you can get a scan earlier, especially if you've got some risk factors. Now, at age 55, insurance might cover a DEXA scan for you if there's a clear medical reason, such as early menopause, family history of osteoporosis, a history of fractures, autoimmune diseases, or use of certain medications like steroids that can affect bone density. The best step here is probably to talk with your healthcare provider and share your concerns and ask if they agree that early screening is medically appropriate, and if so, they can order the scan, and with a proper medical reason documented, insurance is likely to cover it. Of course, it depends, but that's likely. Even if insurance doesn't cover it, some imaging centers offer self-pay discounts for DEXA scans, which can make them more affordable, and if you have reason to be concerned, you can do that. Now, your instinct about being proactive is spot on, and prevention is often a lot more powerful than reaction. Knowledge can be empowering, but of course the question I ask with any test is, what would I do differently depending on the result? So if a problematic scan would encourage you to take bone health more seriously, what would that lead you to do? Would it inspire you to work out more, to eat more plant-based protein, maybe to take a bit of calcium or vitamin D3 and vitamin K2? If you're a 55-year-old woman, you may want to consider taking some or all of those steps proactively in any case. So then the question becomes, why not just do the stuff you know you should do rather than waiting for a test to show you whether or not it's super urgent, right? Because these are good steps to take probably regardless. That said, sometimes knowledge can be empowering. So blessings to you, and I know you'll make the best choices you can given your context. Keith said, do rice hulls accumulate contaminants such that white rice is better to eat than brown? Well, Keith, thank you for bringing up this important and often overlooked question. So rice is a staple food for billions of people around the world. But there are some concerns about arsenic contamination. And interestingly, there's actually more arsenic in brown rice than there is in white rice. So here's the basic story. Arsenic tends to accumulate in the outer layers of the rice grain, the bran and the germ. Well, the bran's the outside, the germ's the inside. The bran's where it accumulates. And they can be preserved in brown rice, but removed in white rice because the bran is taken off. So yes, brown rice can contain more arsenic than white, but it also contains more fiber, more antioxidants, and more other nutrients. So ideally, you want to find a smart and balanced approach. And the good news is there are a few things you can do to reduce arsenic exposure when you're eating rice. So you can soak rice or any grain overnight and then rinse it before you cook it. This starts it germinating. It can make some of the nutrients more bioavailable. And in the case of rice, it can also get rid of some of the arsenic. You can also parboil before cooking, which means you bring a large pot of water to a boil, add your rice and boil it for about 5 minutes, kind of like you would pasta, then drain it and rinse it and cook it as usual with fresh water. And this technique can remove a significant amount of arsenic while still keeping a lot of the nutrition. You can also choose rice from safer growing regions. Not all rice is equal here. So rice grown in California, India, and Pakistan tends to have lower arsenic levels compared to rice that's been grown in the southern United States, like in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. Again, lower arsenic levels for rice grown in California as well as India and Pakistan. And you can also mix it up. No one food has to carry your whole diet. So instead of eating all rice, eat a bit of rice and then also mix in other grains like quinoa, millet, amaranth, or oats, or teff, or buckwheat, and diversify your plate to further minimize any possible risk. The bottom line here is arsenic could be a concern. I don't think you should spend your life stressing and worrying about it. You don't want arsenic in your body, obviously, but a little bit, if your body is healthy and you're well balanced and you're eating lots of good healthy food, your body will probably process it through just fine. So don't get terrified about food. You could always find some danger in some place and then get stressed, and fear is bad for your health too. So enjoy your food, enjoy your brown rice, enjoy a bit of white rice if you like, and mix it up with other grains, and you'll probably be fine. That's my thought, Keith. Thanks so much for your thoughtful question, and I hope this answer was helpful. Ruth said, the information you bring us really brings me to tears because it contains life-giving truths which I want to shout out to the world. I've long been involved in nutrition as a registered dietitian, but started my journey 10 years ago with plant-based living. Recently, I've been told that my knees are bone on bone and my meniscus is torn and I have fluid behind the knees due to inflammation. I've been told that the protective collagen between the joints can't repair itself and surgery is inevitable. Have there been any studies which show improvement in joint health with focused nutrition? Thank you for this marvelous summit. Well, Ruth, thanks for your kind words and being part of this revolution. As a dietitian, you've got a lot of opportunity to spread the word and influence people. You may even want to consider joining our plant-based coaching certification. Thank you for learning, growing, and hopefully spreading the word in all the ways that you can. Now, I want to address your question. So the bad news is it's true that cartilage has limited ability to regenerate. But there is evidence that focused nutrition can reduce inflammation, can support joint function, and may slow the progression of joint issues. Diets that are rich in whole plant foods, especially ones that are high in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, including flax seeds, chia seeds, and also walnuts and hemp seeds, and also rich in anti-inflammatory compounds have been shown to bring down inflammation markers and to support joint health. Some studies suggest that compounds in foods like turmeric, as well as berries and leafy greens and legumes, may help ease symptoms of osteoarthritis and also reduce joint pain. That said, severe structural damage, like a fully torn meniscus or bone-on-bone contact, might not fully heal without medical intervention, in which case, thank goodness there are some resources available to you. I'm grateful when a surgery is necessary. I'm so grateful we have that option. But optimizing your diet could help manage inflammation. It could ease some of the discomfort and support the health of the tissues you do have. I hope you're able to work with a healthcare provider who's at least open to integrating lifestyle and nutrition in concert with medical care, or at least isn't hostile to your efforts. And thank you for being here and being a part of this food revolution with us. All right, folks, I now want to introduce our recipes of the day. Every day of the summit, there's 3 more that Nicole put together for all of us to savor and enjoy. Today, we have lemon poppy seed mini muffins. Brighten up your day with these amazing treats. They're made with wholesome oat flour and oats, plus a chia seed egg for binding. These muffins are bursting with fresh lemon zest and juicy blueberries and a touch of date paste for natural sweetness. The poppy seeds add a delightful crunch, while applesauce keeps them moist and tender. They're great for snacking, and they're a nutritious treat. Next, we have sweet pea and avocado dip. We talked earlier about the value of a good dip, and this one blends the natural sweetness of organic sweet peas with creamy avocado for a super smooth, satisfying bite. Fresh mint and chives add a nice herbal touch, and a splash of lemon juice keeps it bright and fresh. And finally today, we've got roasted red pepper tofu ricotta. This roasted red pepper ricotta pasta is a simple and easy comfort food dish that the whole family can love. Use the quick and easy creamy roasted red pepper sauce made with creamy tofu ricotta and herbs and spices that add in your favorite pasta sauce before tossing it with the pasta noodles of your choice. This flavorful dish is a great way to switch up your weekly pasta creation for a mouth-watering, nourishing meal. So I hope you all are enjoying the recipes of the day and cooking along as we go through the summit. And if you want even more amazing recipes, you may want to consider joining FRN's membership community, Whole Life Club, where we have more than 1,400 incredible recipes, and you can search by ingredient and lots of other factors so you can make it work just for you and what's in your fridge and the foods you like. Whole Life Club is available with a free 30-day trial whenever you get an empowerment package. Every day of the summit, we have 3 more featured expert interviews available. The summit was conducted by interviewing 45 of the world's top food and health experts on the planet. And we have combined those interviews into the episodes that you're seeing. But we also want to share the in-depth interviews with you if you want to go deeper into any of the topics that we're talking about. So today's featured expert interviews are with Dotsie Bausch on From the Plate to the Podium, how a plant-based diet boosts performance, health, and vitality. You may have seen Dotsie's incredible story today of becoming an Olympic athlete. We also have an interview with Stephanie McBurnett, RDN, on fueling vitality, how nutrition shapes your fitness and well-being, and with Kirk Erickson, MD, on Fit for Thought, how exercise shapes brain health across a lifetime. Laura said this has been the most educating, eye-opening, and informative summit ever. I've learned so much and have changed back to whole food plant-based diet, and I have shared this information and pray my family will see the benefits and embrace it also. Thank you, Ocean, and all these expert doctors and speakers. The best summit ever. Laura, thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm so grateful for your kind words. This is why we do this. And thanks for spreading the word with your family. And look, folks, it's day 6 in the summit. We've got 2 more incredible days yet to come. We may have saved the best for last. So please come on back and join us tomorrow when we're going to go live at 7:45 a.m. Pacific time, 10:45 Eastern, 2:45 p.m. GMT. We'll be rolling episode 7, Nutrition Facts, Fads, and Essential Nutrients, Mastering Your Nutritional Needs. We're going to dive into the science and the controversies. What do the most comprehensive studies ever conducted on food and health actually tell us? Do some people need animal products or supplements to be healthy? What vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients should we really be paying attention to? Do we need meat to get enough protein? And what kinds of protein are really best? Do we need fish for omega-3 fatty acids? Tomorrow, we're going to clear up confusion and get evidence-based answers to burning questions. In the meanwhile, you can post your comments and share in the conversation. Catch and share the replay of today's broadcast, which will go live as soon as we finish today. Check out the empowerment package and what it can do for you so you can invest in your health and support our mission at the same time. Check out the recipes of the day, which you'll find right on the broadcast page. And hopefully enjoy some delicious, wholesome, healthy food. We're wishing you a beautiful, thriving day. This is Ocean Robbins signing off from day 6 in the Food Revolution Summit. And here's a peek at what's coming up tomorrow. Do you know what your body really needs? Join us as we cut through the noise to bring you science-backed clarity on diet and health.
Most of the kind of personalized nutrition is scammy nonsense.
If you just track their cognitive function. For people, let's say that the highest maybe quartile of vegetable consumption in the US, their cognitive decline is slowed compared to other people, and their cognitive age is about 11 years less than other people.
It's important for people to know that 75% of the sodium in our diet doesn't come from table salt that we use to cook with. It's coming from commercial food, whether it's packaged food or restaurant food.
It's a misconception that plant foods are lacking in essential amino acids.
Only 4% of any age group today is meeting the basic recommendation of fiber.
Get the truth about protein, soy, gluten, omega-3 fatty acids, lectins, and many other controversies. Find out what supplements help and which ones might hurt. It's time to dispel myths and get the truth so you can fuel a lifetime of health and vitality. At Food Revolution Network, our mission is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school. We want doctors to learn how nutrition impacts health in medical school. We want the routine use of antibiotics banned from factory farms. We want a world where everyone, regardless of their ethnic or economic background, has knowledge of and access to healthy food for their family. We want a world in which heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, obesity, and diabetes are rare, and in which vibrant health is the norm. We're spreading the word, and we're standing for change. And with every empowerment package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, so they can plant another organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Join this movement and stand with us for a real food revolution.